All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Starcade Media Studios with my guy, Trevor Twidwell.
What's good?
Episode 244 is in full swing, full motion. We're so happy to be here with you and for you to be here with us, whether you are live streaming, podcasting, or YouTubing. We want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this time as we have a fun-filled show for you guys today because we have a lot to get to, a lot to discuss. It is Raider Week for the Chiefs and Raiders. We know that this is usually a pretty big game for Chiefs fans and for Raiders fans to unite and obviously become best friends because we know this is how this history between these two teams and two fan bases has gone for the better part of the last century. But we're really happy to be here to talk about that. We're going to get to you guys in the Speak It section as we always do. And obviously we're going to give you out some L's. But we have a very special guest today, former Chief tight end, former Eagles tight end, and current co-host of the Chief Concerns podcast show with our guy Marcus Dash. Our guy Jason Dunn will be on the show today for the first time in what seems to be forever. We haven't had him on the show in so damn long, and we're so happy to have him back on there. I don't know if we're on Facebook or not, sure. I don't know if you can see that we're on Facebook.
So I posted the link on Facebook. We are live on YouTube, but I posted the live link on our YouTube link on Facebook on my feed. I'm going to post it in the group right now, but for some reason I don't know why it's not showing up. Giving everybody the live stream like it normally does.
It shows that we're live on Facebook, but I cannot see the link. So if you guys see the link on Facebook, let us know because I, for whatever reason, cannot see it. I don't know what the hell is going on. Yeah. Not exactly happy about that. Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg, for the help here.
Happy.
But we're gonna get that figured out. I don't know. Like I said, comment on the YouTube page because, like I said, we're looking on our Spoken page right now on Facebook. Does not show. It says we are live, but it's not showing on our Facebook page. Yeah. So that's not exactly something I'm happy about. But we are actually happy about being here with you guys, like I said. And if you guys have not done it already, go to our YouTube channel, hit the like, subscribe, notification buttons, all that stuff, the normal stuff. But more importantly, get into the comments as well because we want to hear from you guys. Want to hear from you guys. Want to make sure that you guys feel heard because that's why we do this show. We do the show obviously because we want to give you guys our opinion, but we do the show mostly because of the fact that we know that you guys have an opinion as well, and we value the community's opinion. And we've had nothing short of a blast with you guys over these last several, I'd say, probably 2-3 months now that we've been doing the Speak It segment constantly, Trevor, consistently. And it's been an absolute great time, and I hope you guys have been having a great time. Tell your friends to join us because we love the time that we have with you guys. We love the time that we get to have with you guys, and we hope that can continue because it is I think it's important for us to have that because there's a lot of shows out there that have people that can chime in, but it's very limited. I don't think that they get an opportunity to really expand on their takes. You guys have the comments to yourselves, man, and it blows up every single week, and we love it so much, and we love you guys. We appreciate you guys for coming out here and joining us. But let's get to some stuff, Trevor, because there are some things to talk about. Trevor and I made a rule because of the fact that we do the Chatting of the Chiefs postgame show that we don't do postgame shows here. We rarely talk about what's happened previous to this show. We're talking about what's about to happen after this show, and that's what we're going to do today. But there are things that I think are kind of, I want to say, are kind of looming over the Chiefs right now. There's a lot of, I guess you would call it stress, anxiety, because the standards are so high. As far as what this team's supposed to be each and every year. Now that the Mahomes standard has been set, it's a Super Bowl standard, and that changes things around here. We know that we're accustomed to usually just hoping for a good team and just see what happens and hope for the best. That standard changed in 2018, as you guys all know. And now the Chiefs are looking at it. They're self-reflecting, and they're looking at a team that is still very much Super Bowl worthy, a Super Bowl caliber team. But this is also a team that has some real struggles on offense. This is not a mystery to you guys at all, but there's also some off-field stuff that's happening. And I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to it, but over this last week and some change, we had heard the news that Travis Kelce, I forget what the article he was talking, what was it Wall Street Journal, I believe. He was talking to the Wall Street Journal.
Yep.
And I know the question is going to come up because he's 34 years old. This is a question we had brought up, and this is something we've talked about on this show time and time again, about the fact that although Travis Kelce is still awesome, I still think he's the best tight end in football. He's not getting any younger. And we know that the time is going to come one day, sooner rather than later, probably, that Travis Kelce won't be on this team. He will be retired, and he'll be moving on with his life, doing other things, and making a lot of money doing so.
Not ready.
Yeah, that's something that Trevor and I can agree on, is that we're not at that place yet. We're ready to relinquish number 87 because we still believe this guy's got a lot of good football left in him, and we know this team absolutely has to have Travis Kelce to continue to do so. But he's starting to bring it up, and whenever a player, whenever a coach, anybody in athletics starts to bring up retirement, you know it's on their mind, you know it's a very real thing. It becomes very tangible at that point, and there's really no taking that back. Even if they continue to play, we know that Brett Favre's legacy was forever not tarnished, but a large part of his legacy was marked by the fact that he was known as a guy that would be very fickle and indecisive with his retirements. He would retire, unretire, retire, unretire, retire, unretire. It became a joke, basically. Michael Jordan did the same thing. People try to pretend like he didn't play for the Wizards, but the man retired 2 times before he even played for the Wizards. That's a part of his legacy. There's just some players that once you, or for any player really, that once you start addressing retirement, it becomes a part of your daily discussion, or the discussion that's surrounding you as a player. And now that's a part of Travis Kelce's conversation. This beginning of the season, it was, can Travis Kelce have another 1,000-yard season? Then not even halfway through the season, it's, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are a thing. It's cool. Let's see how, what comes of it. Now it's becoming, well, Travis Kelce might be done with football sooner rather than later. So he's had one hell of a year, man, coming off beating his brother in the Super Bowl, which has never happened in the history of the NFL, to now where we're at. There's been a lot that's happened in Travis Kelce's life, and I don't think that's going to slow down anytime soon. But I don't want to focus on Travis Kelce's comments. Instead, what I want to focus on is what Andy Reid, their coach, said this week in a press conference regarding this conversation. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid was asked about the recent comments from his tight end Travis Kelce regarding his thoughts on retirement via Chiefs Wire. He said, quote, "I think he enjoys what he's doing. I'm sure, though, the mileage on him, he's got some aches and pains. We try to help him out with that, but he didn't like coming out." Talking about the games. So when he came out on practice and got him out of there to pull him out of plays, he wants to be on everything, said Reid. But the older he gets, he's got to handle that part, getting mileage on you, time and place, end quote. So Andy Reid is basically telling us right here that Andy's fully aware that Travis Kelce's got a lot of wear and tear on him. And we've known this. It's unprecedented almost, damn near unprecedented what Travis Kelce's been able to do with his body and consistently how great he's been over these last 7-8 years, given how much usage he's had. And the only tight end that can even be adequately compared to Travis Kelce at this point is Tony Gonzalez. The reason why the comparison is still fair, comparison is due to the fact that Tony G not only played a very long time, but played at a very high level for a very long time. That's what makes Tony Gonzalez the great player that he was. Gonzalez was a year younger than Kelce when he moved on to greener pastures in Atlanta. You would think that being essentially the same age as Kelce, Tony was probably looking at, he's going to probably hang it up within a year or two after leaving KC, right? Well, Tony Gonzalez went on to play for 5 more seasons with the Falcons. Obviously, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Tony was able to stay healthy, which is in pretty much any player's career. If you can stay healthy, more times than not, those guys are going to have long careers. But do you remember who Tony had around him? How about Julio Jones?
How about it?
How about Roddy White? How about Michael Turner, one of the most underrated running backs in the history of the NFL? In a 4-year span, that man had almost 50 touchdowns. Had Tony G played alongside guys like MVS, Justin Watson, and Sky Moore, he would have retired after the first season with Atlanta. This is what will be the difference between Travis Kelce playing 1 more season or 4 more seasons. Sure, he's got a superstar girlfriend. He's got plenty of money and endless opportunities to make plenty more of it outside of football. But you see, that Kelce, you see that Kelce can still play at a high level, but you see that he hasn't lost the passion to play, and his coach knows him best, believes that as well. This isn't a question of whether Travis Kelce still got it or not. This isn't a question of whether Travis Kelce can still perform at a decently high level. This is a conversation of what I told you guys 9 months ago when I said that they better build around Travis Kelce, or else the people that want to see him play for the next 4 or 5 years are going to have to accept the fact that he's going to play 2 because his body's going to wear down because there's too much onus. There's too much weight on his shoulders. There's too much expectation for him to produce at the later stages of his career. That was not Tony Gonzalez's story. If you go look at Tony's numbers in Atlanta, he was putting up consistently 800 to 950 yards, 7 to 10 touchdowns a season. That is insanely good production, especially for a tight end in his late 30s. That could become Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce could very easily become a guy that puts up damn near 1,000 yards at 35 or older a season. But you have to give him the help to do so. Atlanta had not only 1, but 2 wide receiver ones and a running back that was getting 10 touchdowns a season. The Chiefs have to start helping Travis Kelce out too. They can't expect him to be 35, 36, 37, 38 years old out there with a bunch of unproven commodities and expect him to go out there and be the Travis Kelce of old when he's old. That is not a reality. That can't be a reality. And nobody knows that better than Patrick Mahomes. And now we're hearing it from Patrick Mahomes' own family. I don't know if you guys have been following us, for how long you guys have been following us, but Trevor and I have become very good friends with the Mahomes family. We're very proud of that, and that's something we take very seriously. They're very good people. They've always been good to us. We've had Pat Sr. on the show, but we've also had Patrick Mahomes' aunt. I know that sounds very random, but Patrick Mahomes' aunt is one of the most opinionated people I've ever met. Tanisha Mahomes, awesome individual, awesome soul. We love her to death. We've had her on the show several times. Also with Linda Dorsey, they have an awesome podcast called Two Gyms and a Mic. I hope you guys can go check that out. It's on YouTube. It's on all your podcast platforms. Great people. We love those two ladies. They are very opinionated. Linda's a Giants fan, so I know she's going through the shit right now, and I love Linda, and I'm so sorry she's going through what she's going through, but she has stuck her ground, and she never approved of Daniel Jones becoming the franchise quarterback there. So these women are on their shit, man. They know what they're doing. And Tanisha had herself an opinion this week, and Trevor, I'm going to play it for the people, and we're going to talk about it briefly because this is all adding into the Travis Kelce discussion. This is Tanisha's conversation on the Chiefs' current wide receiver status and who's to blame.
I still say a lot of this is on Veach. I say it's on him. He had an opportunity.
Well, Veach ain't on the field. I mean, the whole player's accountable.
He ain't on the field, but he damn sure could have went and got some help.
Oh yeah.
I think Stevie Wonder could have saw that this was a problem.
Okay, but
and I think they were damn fan that didn't know it. And now the same receivers is out there dropping balls. Right, and
sorry about that.
Is out there looking a little crazy himself. You got Kelce out there, and the frustration is showing. I got tired of seeing this, and I think I wasn't the only one. Kelce was out there looking crazy. Andy out there making calls that people don't normally see him making. That frustration is showing everywhere. And don't tell me that a lot of these burdens could have been lifted if the GM would have just been like out of his own head and let his ego go a little bit and went out there and got some help. He had ample opportunity to do that, but for some reason he thought he saw something that everybody else didn't see. I mean, and he put this, and I'm gonna tell you something. They might make it to the Super Bowl. They might, or they might be one and done.
Okay.
Because they can't score in the second half.
That's 2 weeks in a row.
That's 3 weeks in a row. That's 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I was.
That's what I call from the top rope right there. Now, Trevor and I, we did briefly discuss this before the show because I wanted to give Trevor a fair warning. I didn't want to blindside him with that audio because I think where
did that come from?
Yeah, no, but we've always known that Tanisha, we know the Mahomes family is very invested, heavily invested in Patrick's career. We asked this question. You can find it in our old YouTube clips, guys. It's from a couple years ago when Pat Sr. joined us, and we asked him, how long does Patrick want to play? And Pat Sr. candidly responded by saying, well, Patrick's got some accomplishments he wants to reach. I mean, make no mistake about it, guys. Winning is the number one thing for Patrick Mahomes. There's no debating that. But he does want to reach some accolades. You better believe Patrick Mahomes is coming for Tom Brady's records. You better believe he wants all the MVPs.
He wants to be the best.
He wants to be the best, and you should be. If you're a player at that magnitude, knowing you have a golden opportunity, it's got to be what drives you. That's why I think guys like LeBron James and Tom Brady had played so long, is because it's the drive to be the greatest who's ever done it. Patrick has that same drive. Travis Kelce has that same drive too, guys, but see, the difference between Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce is, and it's not that much different, but it is different. Patrick Mahomes can overcome some of the inefficiencies, but when you're the single receiver out there that you know that your quarterback can rely on, or your coach can scheme open, or it doesn't have to even scheme open. You know you're going to find a way to get open, and you're older, you're longer in the tooth, you're dealing with some injuries that have been hobbling you now for a couple of years and are starting to catch up a little bit. It's that much more of a magnitude for you, and it's harder for you to overcome that. And Tanisha is spitting truth here. She didn't say anything, guys, that we haven't been talking about on this show for months on end. But now it's coming to an head now where the Mahomes family has to speak up a little bit on the behalf of what's going on. Because they're sick of seeing it too, guys, because the standard was set, like I said, the Super Bowl standard was set years ago. But now we're sitting here looking at a team that's struggling to even score points, and that's never been the case for the Chiefs under Patrick Mahomes, with Patrick Mahomes under center. Even in 2021, when they were 3-4 to start the season, the Chiefs were still one of the highest scoring offenses in the league. They had a horrendous defense and a turnover problem. Well, now the Chiefs have an elite defense and a turnover problem. And drops problems. These are problems that you could sit here and say, oh, like Dan Orlovsky, I'm listening to him, Trevor, on SportsCenter this week, talking about, oh, well, they just got to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Guys, it's not like you just wake up one day and stop dropping the damn ball.
Some guys are just prone to drops, man.
You have to have guys,
that goes back for a long ways.
And we've seen great receivers throughout history, Trevor, Terrell Owens, Tyreek Hill. They've had drop problems.
Yeah.
But they overcome it, and they outdo it with production.
With Hall of Fame
production. When you have a guy that's making $11 million this year for the Chiefs,
yep,
that has 0 catches for 0 yards and drops the biggest pass of the goddamn game, that takes it to a whole nother level. So now where people have to start speaking out on it that might be related to some of these players. And I commend Tanisha. I've always appreciated Tanisha. We're going to have her back on the show soon enough. I've always commended her for having a stance on things, not being afraid to let people know. Because one time we had her on the show, she called out Andy Reid. That was a very unpopular thing to do. But this is what we do here, man. We have to be able to speak about real shit in a real way. Trevor and I both believe that this team's going to win the Super Bowl. I'm sure Tanisha does too. But that doesn't mean that we can't sit here and look at this team and say, guys, they really whiffed on this. And now it's going to be really hard for them to overcome it. I saw somebody, a friend of mine on Twitter, the Real Bird Lawyer, talked about how, the Chiefs are probably still going to win the Super Bowl. I do agree. But it's going to have to be like 1994 football, where they're going to have to start doing things that Andy Reid doesn't like to do, relying a little bit more on the run game, playing a little bit more conservative football, because you can't trust guys down the field to catch the damn ball. And you got to hope that every single week your defense is going to go out there and play their best.
Yep.
It's unfair, but it's the way that they're going to have to do it now, because this is where Brett Veach has set them up to be what they are. So to give this a whole roundabout, Trevor, I want to get your thoughts on this. This team, as currently constructed, cannot exist after this season. Plain, period, point blank. It cannot happen.
It won't.
If it's anything close to this, Travis Kelce, I think 2024 would be his last season. I don't believe, guys, this is Travis Kelce's last season. Even I know that people have painted the beautiful picture that him and Jason Kelce could retire at the same time. They're not at the same place of their careers. Yes, Jason Kelce's still great, but he's 2 years older than Travis. It's a little bit different. Yeah. And he plays offensive line. It's a little bit more of a physical, demanding position. I think that Jason will be done after the season. He was going to be done after last season. We saw in the Kelce documentary. He gave it one more year. He's played great still. Played even better, honestly, this year than he did last year. But I do believe Jason's done this season. I think Travis Kelce, if Brett Veach sits on his hands again and plays cheap at wide receiver, he whiffs again at wide receiver, I do believe 2024 will be Travis Kelce's last season. But I hope it's not the case, because I do think that would be cutting short the greatest career we've ever seen at the tight end position. I hope Brett Veach does this right, man, because now he's starting to get called out by some pretty big, heavy hitters, and I think it's all deserving, to be honest with you, because we'll praise him for all the right things he does. But man, I don't think he's whiffed more at any other position than wide receiver since he's been here in Kansas City. Yeah,
listen, so I want to, and this is not to disagree with Tanisha in any way, because she's valid in her points for sure. But I mean, at the same time, I think GMs are allowed to swing and miss. He's swung and he's missed before with some draft picks in the past. But overall, I think he's been an absolute net positive for this franchise and what he's done and who he's brought here talent-wise, especially on the defensive end. So I'm taking the patient approach. I mean, I know we have who we have right now, and there were not moves made. That does suck. I'm not gonna try to question the man's character as far as his ego being involved here. I don't know if that's the case. I think he maybe trusted his process, which I respect, honestly. Anybody who's in any field and they've had success, they should trust their process. This has just been a swing and a miss for Brett Veach. And I think he should take the brunt of the blame here because he's the evaluator. He is the say-so for the most part on, what bodies end up here, what bodies don't, what bodies get paid, what bodies don't get paid. And the big decisions do fall on his head. And listen, this has been a struggle at the wide receiver position. Very lackluster roster as far as talent goes. So with that, man, I mean, obviously that's just the truth. That's just the bare bones of it all this season so far. Do I believe this team can win the Super Bowl? Yes. But the way we are going to get there is going to be far more uncomfortable than it should be. You know what I mean? With the talent we have at quarterback and with the talent we have at tight end and the nucleus that we've had that has been successful so far on this dynastic run here, it feels like we're this season actively making it more difficult. And that's been the biggest, most annoying thing because we've just every week it feels like these games are closer than they should be. I mean, honestly, we have a lot of those games either way. Even when we had Tyreek Hill, we played down to our competition a lot of times, but it's making it that much more harder to escape those kind of games when we play down to the level and we get ourselves in a hole or we consistently are in one possession games and we're starting to lose those kind of games now. Where we don't have the horses to get us out, and when we're turning the ball over because of lack of trust or just Patrick Mahomes second guessing himself because he doesn't have the trustworthy guys that he wants downfield. Those are massive issues, and if those don't get corrected, I mean it's going to be very difficult to win a Super Bowl. When Pat's out there second guessing himself, Travis Kelce's getting double triple teamed out of the game, and we're having to depend on other guys to make plays, and it has not happened yet. And, unless we figure something out, it might not happen. So this defense has been an absolute godsend this season because without it, man, our record could be even uglier than it is right now. It's not ugly right now, but we expected better. But it could be a lot worse if we didn't have those dogs in that defense right now. And Spagnuolo, man, coaching his ass off this year. But yeah, man, as far as the Travis Kelce thing goes, I'm not buying it. I know this is him being candid. This is him having a candid conversation with a massive platform. You know what I mean? And obviously, I'm not saying he's lying, but I'm saying I feel like this is just something that he's probably finally considering. Finally, something he's actually thinking about. Because you asked him this a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it's a fuck no from him every time you ask him that question. But the guy's my age. The guy's 34 now. He's going to be 35 next season. He's only getting older. He's had numerous surgeries on knees and shoulders and things. So, of course, that's going to be something that you ponder, something you start thinking about, especially his life after football, what he's obviously building relationship-wise and what his brand is off the field, as an entertainer, because we all know that's something that's likely going to happen for him in his life. So, yeah, I mean, of course, this guy is, especially with the fame he's accumulated this season, it's a life-changing thing for him. He sees that life differently, I'm sure, now. So, of course, he's going to look forward and look towards his future and what that holds. But as of right now, as Travis Kelce, the football player, the Kansas City Chiefs tight end, I see him playing for at least another couple seasons. I don't have any doubt in my mind. I know the narrative is, is he going to retire with his brother Jason, or they were going to retire at the same time, hold hands, walk off into the sunset together on the podcast? I don't think that's likely. Jason's definitely taking a lot more wear and tear at that position, at the center position. That's the tough, brutal position, especially in Philly. This last couple seasons, especially doing a lot of the tush-push stuff, a lot of grinded out games, close games. That's always, they're a perennial playoff team. They're just in the Super Bowl, so they're playing more than 17 games a year. So Jason's taken a lot. Been to Super Bowls before, so he's had a lot of long, grueling seasons. So Kelce, I think, is here to stay for at least the next couple, 2-3 seasons, in my personal opinion. I think he's a guy that can definitely play until he's 37, 38. But if he makes that choice, he makes that choice, and I respect it. The guy's goated here in this city. Yeah. So, yeah, it's not comfortable hearing Travis Kelce even talk about retirement. Not something you want to hear as a Chiefs fan, but we got to start preparing for life after Kelce, man. And right now, this is not a good look for life after Kelce because hopefully we can regain some trust in our GM to build and bring in weapons around Patrick Mahomes, for that life after Kelsey, and even life during maybe the slow decline of Kelsey, because that's not even looking good right now. So we got a lot of things to clean up, man.
I just don't think that there's any coincidence that Travis has maybe his best season of his career last season.
Right. Yeah, he's up there with Justin Jefferson.
All he needed was one reliable wide receiver. It was the year after they got rid of Tyreek Hill, and he has his best season. That's just not a coincidence. He had one true reliable receiver, and what that does, that knocks the pay, and it knocks everybody down a peg. Because to be honest, MVS wasn't bad last season. MVS was a solid wide receiver 3.
Well, and I'll say this too. Yeah, it's not that Patrick Mahomes isn't trusting these guys. These opposing defenses aren't trusting these guys to make plays.
Right.
So the combination of those two things happening at the same time.
That's why you're seeing Travis getting double, triple teams.
They're like, okay, I dare you to beat us. And that's 3 straight weeks
and
now.
that just wears him down even more so. So I don't think it's that. I personally don't believe. I'm not. When I see Travis Kelce on the field, I don't see a player who's lost a step.
No.
I see a guy who's just literally has an entire defense honing down on him, saying,
banged and
beat us with
over
everybody else.
Yeah.
And when you have an offense that's leading the league by a substantial margin, I'll mind you, and drops. Why would the defense do anything different? And that's what I was worried about all offseason coming into this year, and why I'm still worried about it. Yes, I do believe this team could still win the Super Bowl, but like Tanisha said, they could also be a team that goes one and done because of the fact that they have real matchup problems. They have a real scoring problem. This is no longer it's early, they're still figuring it out. Guys, we are literally almost 3/4 through the season.
Well, yeah, and give the opposing defense is something to think about or maybe possibly worry about. 11 targets to Justin Watson is not something that's going to scare defenses off. 11 targets to Rashee Rice or Kadarius Toney or someone who has more upside.
Yes.
That will give them something to think about, because I think with 11 targets to those guys, we're looking at some much better production.
And I ate my crow when it came to Justin Watson, because I told you guys I didn't even have him on this team, and he made some big plays against the Vikings. I ate my crow.
He's a solid player, but he's a wide receiver 4.
He made some big plays and some key moments here and there throughout the season. But to Trevor's point, when you have that guy play 11 or get 11 targets, you see what he truly is. And guys, you saw what he truly was against the Eagles. He had 3 drops. That's what he is. He's a good wide receiver 3 or 4. A guy that you could just have on the team that will get you 200 to 400 yards of receiving yards, couple touchdowns per season. You can't expect this guy to be wide receiver 1. This is why I told you guys, I'll eat my crow because I didn't have him making the team. But this is who he really is. And like Trevor said, it's unacceptable and it's never okay unless it's some preseason game or a game that you're resting your starters for Justin Watson to get that kind of usage, that many targets, it's not that's not a feasible offense. Because that week, guys, this last week when Justin Watson got 11 targets, there were only 3 other players in the league that got 11 targets. Yeah. I think it was Tyreek Hill, Keenan Allen, and A.J. Brown, if I'm not mistaken. There was only like 3 players Amon-Ra St. Brown, not A.J. Brown. Yeah. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Those are the only. So Justin Watson isn't exactly on those guys' tier, if you know what I mean. Like there's a little bit of a discrepancy. So there's just there's no way around it. And you're right, Trevor. I do agree that that Brett Veach just swung and he missed, but you still have to be able to answer for that. Yeah. When you are running a team, you are running an organization, it doesn't even have to be sports. It can be anything, it can be sales, anything like that. If you swing and you take a big opportunity by hiring a group of people you think can come in and change things, and they suck, that's on you. Yeah. That's why I tell you guys all the time, like, I get pissed at MVS because he's making all that money to drop passes. They're put in these positions. But, guys, the guy that's putting them in those positions is the one that you really need to blame. And look at, the Patriots. Why are they on a complete downfall? Yes, losing Tom Brady will help elevate that and expedite that process. But when you have an arrogant and ignorant man like Bill Belichick, who's still stuck in 1993, running your team and building it the way he does, it's no mystery your offense is fucking trash. There's no mystery. That's why their team plays like it belongs in 3 decades ago, because they don't build a team according to the way you're supposed to. That's why they get the criticism. That's why Belichick is getting the criticism. That's why this will be his last season in New England. So it all adds up, and that's why we're here where we're at, guys. But I don't want to harp on it too long. I wanted to give you guys our thoughts on those 2 things, because those are things I think that the Chiefs are going to continue to have to talk about for the rest of this season, no matter how long or how short it goes. But it's Raider Week, like I mentioned guys earlier, and we're about 30 minutes away from our guy Jason Dunn joining us. So, Trevor, I want to go through this matchup real quick between you and I, and then we're going to get, obviously, Jason's thoughts on this matchup, because he had many a game against the Raiders, and he had many a success against the Raiders as a Chief, and I can't wait to get his thoughts on this matchup and what he sees in this one. But, Trev, I want to start just looking, you know me, man, I love looking at raw numbers and then just kind of dissecting them as to why they are what they are. Right. Context is everything when it comes to matchups like this. I know this is a divisional game, guys, but let's be real. For the last 7-8 years, the Chiefs have absolutely owned this division, and that seems to still be a trend. The Chiefs come into this game as 10-point road favorites. The over-under is 43.5. This is going to be a game where I think that the Chiefs have a real golden opportunity to do a couple things, but I want to start here with the Raiders' defense. The Raiders come into this matchup with a 17th ranked scoring defense. They rank 15th in pass D and 28th in rush D. So clearly, their weakness has been getting gashed on the ground. That's not been a mystery all season. Fortunately for the Raiders, they're facing a Chiefs offense that's 24th in rush attempts. So they're facing a team that may not want to run the ball against them. The Raiders are allowing 10 points per game in the second half this season. That's twice as much as what the Chiefs offense is averaging in the second half this season.
So there's ever a get-right game.
Whew. This matchup somewhat explains itself, doesn't it? Kind of like a writing on the wall situation, if you will. Especially when you consider the fact that the Raiders' defense is going to have to take on what we expect to be a pissed-off and motivated Chiefs offense without the lifeblood of their defense and team as a whole in Max Crosby, who is almost certainly going to miss this game now with a knee injury. He missed all practice this week, didn't practice at all, has been listed as doubtful. It sounds like Max Crosby will not play in this game. The Chiefs have a golden opportunity here to get their offense rolling. Unfortunately, both of their Jets have been grounded. According to Matt McMullen of the Chiefs, both running back Jerick McKinnon and wide receiver McCole Hardman will miss Sunday's game with their own set of injuries. This sucks because, well, the offense clearly needs both of them. And I never thought I would say that. McKinnon is a guy that this offense feeds off of. Since 2022, Jerick McKinnon has 75 receptions and 12 receiving touchdowns. That means that McKinnon scores on 16% of his receptions. To compare, Travis Kelce scores on 10% of his receptions in that same span. As I've said before, and I will say it again, this offense is at its absolute best when Jerick McKinnon is involved. The Chiefs just traded to get McCole Hardman back just 4 months after letting him walk for nothing. He hasn't made a ton of impact plays since he's returned, but you can tell that the trust is there between him and Patrick when it's clearly something missing between Patrick and just about any other wide receiver he's thrown to this season. That's why they went and got McCole back. Which is why this game comes down to Andy Reid and whether he wants to lean into the run game or not. This is a matchup in which the opponent is literally begging him to run it on them and in their misery like Ric Flair did to Shawn Michaels, begging him for the sweet chin music. I'm growing tired of seeing Isaiah Pacheco being underutilized. Especially in the second half, where we know this offense is now becoming infamous for going in the tank. The Raiders aren't a terrible team, but they're not a good team either. Their wins have come against the Broncos in week 1, which we know the Broncos are a way different team from what they were back then. The Packers in early October, again, a completely different team from where they are now. The Patriots, okay, they still suck ass. The Giants and Jets, who have two offenses with 2 third-string quarterbacks playing. Unfortunately, the Chiefs can no longer just roll the ball onto the field and dominate their opposition, regardless of their record or talent level. The Chiefs have to take this Raiders team seriously because the Raiders finally have a head coach in Antonio Pierce that they actually believe in. But also, the Chiefs are currently the 3 seed in the AFC with the Ravens and Dolphins winning and the Chiefs losing over the last week. If the Chiefs take care of business in Vegas, they go back to the 2 seed, and if the Ravens lose to the Chargers, the 1 seed is back in the hands of the Chiefs where it should have been all along. And look, I still believe, based upon remaining schedules alone, that the Chiefs will ultimately end up back with the 1 seed in the postseason, but they don't control their own destiny at this time. So they need to control what they can, and that's the opponent in front of them. Again, the Chiefs are 10-point road favorites. That's with Vegas factoring in their inept offense. There is no reason in the world why this should be a game. especially after literally gift wrapping a victory to the Eagles in front of 30 million witnesses. That is about as embarrassing as it gets. And as I told Trevor and as I told Von Booker on the Chatting Up the Chiefs postgame show after that game, I said, look, it would have been one thing if, against a team that great, I know they haven't played as great as they did last season, but it's because they have a tougher schedule this year and a way worse secondary. But if the Chiefs would have came into that game and against a Super Bowl caliber Eagles team finally had a bad defensive showing where the defense gave up 30 points, I could have lived with that. Losing is never something I'm cool with, but losing in a certain manner oftentimes does matter, and it can give you some solace or even more angst. And losing the same way they lost in the previous 2 losses gives me a lot of angst. Because, like I said, they literally handed that game to the Eagles. They had a 10-point lead at half, and the offense couldn't score 1 point. That has to roll into this week where they're like, over our dead body are we going to let this happen again, where the second half just depletes us and we eggshell it again. You can't go 4 straight games without scoring in the second half. They need to score, and they need to score at will in the second half. Because this Raiders team, guys, look, like I said, they're not a great team by any means. They're a 500 team. They're one of those meh teams in the middle of the league. There's a lot of those teams right now. But those are the teams that can beat you because they believe in themselves. And if you let them smell blood in the water, you better believe they're going to drop some funky shit and have one big play to Davante Adams or one big turnover on the defensive side that said, hey, we don't have Max Crosby, but all we got's ourselves. Let's just go out here and play 4 quarters and beat Patrick Mahomes. Oh, MVS is still dropping passes? We can win this game. It's all about the belief. You have to break this team early and at the end. Do not give them hope. That's how you win this game. If the Chiefs are a Super Bowl worthy team, they need to show it this week against a team that's coming to a gunfight with a water pistol. Trevor, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, hope can only go so far. This is a lopsided game in my opinion. I've been saying it all week since we lost to Philly leading into this game. Off camera to you and to whoever I discussed this game heading into this game. I think this is going to be a bloodbath. My personal opinion. I know as Chiefs fans we want to see the Chiefs offense go rally and put up 50 and get things right. I don't expect that offensively. This is more me leaning into what this defense is and what this defense does to the opposition. And I mean, good luck Davante Adams. Because all we do is lock down top-tier receivers in this league, and he's no exception here. And Aiden O'Connell is going to have a long day, in my personal opinion. I think this is going to be a terrible, terrible game for him. I think this pass rush is angry. I think this defense as a unit is angry because they continue to go do their jobs at an elite level, and they came up short as far as the result that they worked for last week, and our offense let them down. So I think they're going to come out here and they're going to really, really establish themselves once again as arguably the top defensive unit in this league. And this is a game where they can just go feast, Thanksgiving style feast on this Raiders team. Whether Max Crosby plays or not, it really doesn't matter to me. I know that it gives them an edge, no pun intended, to maybe ruffle the feathers of a Patrick Mahomes, but let's be real right now. Patrick Mahomes' feathers have been ruffled damn near all season so far. He's not been very happy. He's not happy with his own production, honestly. He knows that. He has some at fault here as well. He's put some terrible balls out there this season. But he has not been happy with the guys out there as far as his pass catchers overall. I think we just discussed that right now. But heading into this game, if there ever is a get-right game for these pass catchers to face a secondary. Listen, I expected them to shred the secondary of Philadelphia last week, and they should have. We should have scored more north of 30 points, but we continued to turn the ball over in the worst timing possible, and we continued to have drops at the worst timing possible on a consistent level. And if there's ever a get-right game, though, it is a divisional game to a team that you are much better than, to a very inexperienced team at quarterback and a lot of other positions, a secondary that is young and not good. So for me, man, this game, it's unfortunate that we're talking about a must-win game right now against the Raiders in Week 12. That's very frustrating. I feel like we should be in a better position than that. We should be in a better position than that, than having to be, 2 of our next 3 games against the Raiders where we know we those are must-win games. And, but we control our own destiny at this point, man, as we do most seasons. But we kind of dug ourselves in a hole, these last few weeks. And I personally believe this has got to be a Pacheco game. It was a Pacheco game the last week in the first half. I mean, it's unacceptable to me, in my personal opinion, that Pacheco's only had 100-yard rushing game this season. The dude is 100 miles an hour every play, and I think honestly a lot of our second half woes is because we go away from the run in the second half.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like it's just we lose balance. We become one-dimensional. Granted, if you're ever going to be a one-dimensional offense passing the ball, Patrick Mahomes is one of the best guys to do that with. But it's still football at the end of the day. It's still talent all across this league. You know what I mean? We're not arrogant enough to sit here and act like we can overcome any of the odds and any of the other talented defensive units that we go against. We got to consistently run the ball and play balanced football through and through the rest of the game.
This is what I was talking about, the trickle-down effect of how this team was built this season.
Right.
You're right. If there was an offense that you can just throw the ball all damn game, I'd have Patrick Mahomes as my quarterback.
Catching it helps.
But when you have a wide receiver room that is struggling the way they have, you don't do that. You do the opposite of that because you want to set them up for success to where you have the defense on their heels. Because if you're running the ball, that makes it easier for Travis Kelce to get open because they can't triple team him because they don't have to play more base man defense because they have to protect the run.
Right.
And against a defense like this, against the Raiders, without their superstar edge rusher, you have to be able to continue that. There is no reason in the world why this game the Chiefs don't have 25 to 30 rush attempts.
And it's frustrating too because the Eagles might have the most stout defensive unit against the run.
Yes.
Their defensive line has been incredible against the run. Everyone knows you don't run against the Eagles.
Who did?
They're a pass funnel defense. And he almost had 100 yards against them. He had like 80-something in the first half.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, and that's not only him winning at that position and winning at that type of style of game offensively, but that shows you that our offensive line and the trenches can go dominate anyone. If they can dominate the defensive line of the Eagles, you can go dominate anyone.
You don't build a great offensive line only for pass protection.
Dude, our offensive line was destroying their defensive line.
You have a great offensive line so you can have a dual threat offense. You have a balanced offense.
Right.
You have to be able to utilize them to their strengths and honestly, it's like giving the offensive line a little like bonus when you run the ball a little bit more because they love pushing forward. Yeah. They don't like to step back all the time. Yeah. 43 pass attempts from Patrick Mahomes against that Eagles offense. You have 17 points. That must mean that you're not doing something right. And again, if you had a plethora of wide receivers, let's say, bringing back the Tony Gonzalez conversation, let's say you had Roddy White and Julio Jones around Travis Kelce. Yeah. Throw the ball 43 damn times. Yeah. No one's stopping that offense. You don't have that. So run the damn ball because Isaiah Pacheco has been one of the true bright spots of this inept offense this season. He has been. You're right, Trev. Like, he showed in that game early and often, I'm going to get 5 yards a clip on these dudes. Yes, they're a physical front seven. Yes, they've been awesome against the run this year. I don't give a shit. I'm knocking fools around. There was a funny meme on Twitter about that chick from Fox News when they said no one at all, not a single soul. Isaiah Pacheco when they're on offense. We need to kill them. We need to kill them right now. He's an aggressive animal behind the offensive line. Utilize that because if you do want your pass game to get going, utilize that. Set up the play action. Set up other things. Andy Reid's too smart to be this dumb about things like this. Like if we can figure this out. How do they not? I think it's true. I think it's stubbornness. Yeah. This is what we talk about all the time. A lot of times great minds get stubborn because they've seen it work before, and it's their methodology. It's their belief. That's how we're going to do things, and they just lean into it. What's the point of having running backs? What's the point of having run plays on your sheet if you're not going to utilize them?
I'll say this. I mean, moving forward, as far as beckoning back on that Eagles game from last week, our two biggest stars, our two most consistent guys that have gotten us here and gotten us to the promised land, let us down in the same game. Patrick Mahomes had a red zone turnover. Kelce had a red zone turnover. If they don't do that, we win that game pretty comfortably, honestly. And that's just not going to happen again. That's not going to happen again. They're not both going to let you down in the red zone twice in the same game. Kelce rarely fumbles the ball. So those things just aren't going to continue to happen, in my personal opinion. Yeah, the drops happen, but we could have had those drops from all the other receivers and still won that game comfortably by more than a score. And that should have been the outcome, but, the fact that Travis Kelce and Pat turned the ball over, within scoring distance is something that just never really happens, especially in the same game. So moving forward into this Raider week, This is why I feel like if we just play our game, man, this is going to be an absolute slaughter fest. I think this defense is going to just wreak havoc once again. And this defense travels well. We've been incredible on the road as well. Aiden O'Connell, I mean, I feel sorry for the kid. This is just a nightmare matchup for him, especially with no defensive prowess from Max Crosby, most likely not even being there to possibly get the ball back and maybe force a fumble and get them in good scoring field position. It's just going to be, I think it's going to be a very lopsided, one-sided game. And this could be a game where the Chiefs go put up 40 offensively. That would be great. I don't care. Just give me at least 10 points in the second half. I don't care if we score 30 in the first half. Keep the foot on the throttle, man, and give me at least double digits points in the second half. It's a must. That's something we do have to get right, and keep it clean, keep everybody healthy, and just play straightforward football, man. And this has got to be a game. I know we're short on a running back in McKinnon, and that is a concern. I think this is more likely just a 1 week absence, if I'm being honest. But Clyde was getting some work, so run the hell out of Clyde, run the hell out of Pacheco on this game. Get down there. If Pat wants to throw a couple tutties, I'm sure he's going to want to get some numbers up here. This season, he's having a down year for him and his personal thoughts of what he was going to be this year, what this offense was going to do. But this is an absolute get-right spot for the Chiefs, man. And it's Raider week. There's always juice to these games. No matter what the rosters look like, there's always juice to these games. Heading into Vegas, I think this is a get-right game all the way around, defensively and offensively, man.
It should be. Just like it should have been a game where the Chiefs should have had a lot of big plays against the Eagles. And not to reminisce on that game too much, but...
Well, we did. Theirs dropped.
Well, that's what I'm saying. To your point, because I do agree, this should be a game where the Chiefs move the ball, score touchdowns, and maybe they will. But here's the problem, Trevor, to the point you made about, you can't have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce make those turnovers in the red zone. That doesn't happen a lot. That's true, but that is actually the point I'm going to make, is that this might sound nuts, but I didn't view those turnovers as the reason why the Chiefs lost the game.
Really?
I look at it like this. We were just talking about how Terrell Owens and Tyreek Hill, they drop these most absurd passes, passes at him right in the chest. You're like, what the hell? How do you do that? And then they'll go and have an 80-yard touchdown. Or they'll have a game with 8 catches for 119 yards and 3 touchdowns. And you're like, oh, okay. You don't even remember the drop at that point because they make up for it. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce will make up for that stuff. Like that you said, it doesn't happen very often. And they always make plays in big moments, more times than not. So I can live with that. Obviously, I'm not okay with it because it was a horrible throw by Patrick. That was a stupid throw. Travis, come on, man. You should be able to withstand that.
Yeah.
But I can live with that. What I can't live with is, despite those 2 turnovers, the Chiefs had a golden opportunity to score a game-winning touchdown with about a minute and change left, with the defense playing as great as they did all game, which you knew they were going to shut the Eagles down. I just knew it without a question. Yeah. But you have a guy who's making $11 million, who's made 0 catches all game, and he gets one that hits him right in the damn palms. It's Palm Monday up in this bitch, and it hits him right in the hands, and he drops that shit. That's what I can't live with, because you don't make up for it. You don't make up for that with other production. It'd be one thing if MVS had 100 yards in that game, or, a couple big catches or a touchdown, and then he drops that. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? MVS, he did play his role. 0 catches. 0 yards. And you drop a touchdown that would win the game despite our superstar players making mistakes? I can't live with that.
Well, yeah, but back to my point was, we have lived with the dropsies of all the receivers and MVS being a no-show, and we still continue to win games even with that. And you can make up with that. You can make up with that with Patrick Mahomes and Kelce, but when they're the ones that are turning over the ball in the red zone, you can't really make up for that. Because they're the ones that typically make up for the other mistakes.
I get it, no, but real quick, to your point, you're valid. I get what you're saying, but it's look at it in basketball terms. If Steph Curry misses a wide open 3-pointer that could win the game, you're not going to go, what the Steph, you piece of, you're not going to hold that against him because the man's hit 9,000 3-pointers in his career. He's hit big ones.
You get a pass,
exactly.
But if he misses it, you're probably not going to win.
Sure, but I'm saying even if it's in a game-winning scenario, where he misses the shot, clinks it, and he's wide open, he should make it, but he doesn't. You let that fall off your back a little bit because you're like, dude, I've seen Steph make 1 million of those, and he's going to make 1 million more. But when it's a lesser player like a Saric, and there's a rebound that he's going up for, that if he gets this rebound, they get the ball, they win the game, and he knocks it out of bounds.
J.R. Smith when he thought the Cavs had the lead.
Yes, exactly. LeBron had 51, 8, and 8 in that game.
Yeah.
But everyone knew why the game was lost because J.R. fucked up on that last play.
Yeah.
So my point is, those guys, the others, don't do enough to make up for that. So that's why when they make those mistakes, to me, it's far more critical. Because that's what ends up being the real reason why you lose games. Because, again, despite Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes having those blunders, the Chiefs still had a golden opportunity to win the game, and because one of the others didn't do it, they lost.
Yeah, there's validity to both sides of that. I just think it's hard to overcome when the guys that you that are the ones that you lean on the most that are consistently getting the job done don't do that. And we've been winning in spite of the other guys consistently not getting the job done. We still would have won that game in spite of all the drops and the other receivers not fulfilling their duties. But when everyone is not fulfilling their duties and turning it over, and that's just you don't overcome, especially against the Eagles. You don't consistently give a team like the Eagles chance after chance after chance to go win a game. You're just gift wrapping them opportunity after opportunity. We honestly should have blew them out. That's what's so frustrating. I mean, how many times have we had this conversation in Patrick Mahomes type losses when the Chiefs? It sounds annoying, probably especially from other fan bases when we as fans of the Chiefs say this, but we continue to beat ourselves in these situations. We continue to give opportunity to teams that should not have opportunity, and the pressure should entirely be on them, but we continue to keep the pressure on us, and it's just a silly thing, man. But Raider Week, baby. Listen, regardless of what the people think of this this rivalry or not rivalry, it's still a rivalry for me inside because this is just a childhood hatred I've always had for this team. So going and putting a shellacking on these boys would be a fun way to kind of maybe heal the wounds of last week's loss. And put some, sugar on top of that shit sandwich. Yeah, I think this is a week where the Chiefs should get right. I'm not saying that they go out there because obviously if we're playing Madden, you want to go out there. This is Raider Week on Madden. You want to go put 50 plus on these boys. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it is going to be a very dominant defensive performance, though, once again from these guys because I think this is just a terrible matchup on that end. But I think this is a game where Pat can go throw 2-3 touchdowns, get right. Pacheco can catch one and rush one. This looks like that kind of setting for me personally.
All right, well, let's get to the key players of the game because we have our guy Jason Dunn going to be on in about 10 minutes. Let's get to the key players, Trevor. Who are your two players that you're looking out for to make the ultimate difference in this one for the Chiefs?
Defensively, I'm going to go Leo Chenal. I think this is a game where Leo Chenal makes some noteworthy plays. He's been a guy that's been rotated in and out and is kind of always there. He's like a nucleus guy. If there's ever a sack, he's like always like right there for almost a half sack, or he's right there in the midst of a big play. He hasn't really been making any big plays the last couple weeks, but I feel like this is a game where we rotate him in a little more. If we have a comfortable lead, he can get some more action. Right. So I like Leo Chenal to make rack up a good amount, healthy amount of tackles here in this game, and maybe make a couple big plays, maybe a forced fumble because he's a big dude, and Josh Jacobs is a guy that likes to play that. They like to play that smash mouth. Since the coaching change, they've been running the ball a lot more. So I can see Leo going out there and stuffing the run a few times and really getting after Josh Jacobs because he's sneaky fast, and I think he's a guy that could keep up with Josh Jacobs and stuff him a handful of times. So I love Leo Chenal in this matchup, and then obviously. I'm going to go with the running game in this, man, offensively. I can't bank on any receivers, but it's a combination for me. I think this is a game where Kadarius Toney gets more work too, and I was telling you that off air. I think this is a Kadarius Toney week. I think he does get a touchdown here and get some work because I think he's the most talented and explosive receiver we have right now. I know they've been reserving him because of the knee injury, the knee surgery he had leading into the year, in the beginning parts of the year. So I think they start, really working him, especially with McKinnon being out, and we don't have that other gadgety guy we could dump it off to, and McColl's out. So those two guys being out opens up a big window of opportunity for Kadarius Toney to kind of be that guy that they get those creative touches for. So I can see him having a good, solid day. So for me, it's a combination of Pacheco and Kadarius to get a lot of production in this game here.
All right, so I think that. I'll say my prediction for just a minute. I think that this game is going to be dictated and determined by how the Chiefs get to Aiden O'Connell. And his 5 starts this season, the man has been sacked 12 times and has 6 interceptions.
Yeah,
this kid's about to have a really rough day at the office because of the fact that this Chiefs defense. I have no reason to believe that they're not going to go in there and do what they do, which is just wreak havoc and make things really difficult on the opposing quarterback. I mean, you saw Jalen Hurts last week. He was struggling all game.
Take away his first read.
That one Devontae Smith pass, which was great.
Yeah.
Outside of that, Jalen Hurts did nothing in that game. The Eagles had 238 yards of offense.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
he was horrible in the first half. He was awful.
Why do I think that Aiden O'Connell is going to do anything in this game? Yes, they have Devontae Adams, who I respect greatly, one of the best receivers of his generation.
You don't got to worry about mobility. You don't got to worry. Yeah.
Jacoby Myers, good receiver. They have some good weapons, solid weapons. But when Josh Jacobs out of the backfield, sure, maybe he'll get some chunk plays out of the backfield because the Chiefs' defense has at times given up some chunk plays here and there. This is the best defense in the AFC, and they have faced some awesome offenses and have shut them all down at one point or another, sometimes for the full game. Mm-hmm. I have no reason to believe this is going to change at all. I think this is going to be a Charles Omenihu game. I think Charles Omenihu is going to get multiple sacks in this game. Chris Jones is going to get all the respect, as he should, from an offensive line that's been giving up a lot of sacks in the Las Vegas Raiders. Yeah. I'm not saying Chris Jones won't get in the sack category because he had himself a nice little game against the best offensive line in football just a week ago. He was all up in that backfield. Jalen Hurts was feeling Chris Jones all game long. I think he had, 2 sacks in that game? Almost had 3. But it was because the stupid... by the way, I don't understand that. When a quarterback has a designed run,
it's not a sack.
Behind the
because
back.
he is now a rusher.
But that
it's a tackle, not a sack.
But I'm like, okay, but if a quarterback scrambles out of a broken play, it's a sack? Like, that's just dumb.
It's a formation thing. If it's a designed run, he's immediately a running back.
It's
basically.
So dumb.
Yeah.
But regardless, Chris Jones had an absolute game. We didn't talk about that nearly enough. He was an animal in that game. That should have been a game we talked about the defense playing great, but instead they took the L, and we couldn't really talk about it too much. But Chris Jones has been an animal. I think he's gonna be an animal again this week. But I think it's gonna be Charles Omenihu that gets the stat column praise.
I want to see that too. I want to see him get some.
Charles got 2 sacks and 4 tackles for loss. Holy shit! I think that's what's gonna happen in this game. I think the Chiefs are gonna sack Aiden O'Connell at least 3 times. I think there's gonna be at least 1 interception in this game as well. But yeah, Omenihu's got my defensive side of things. On the offensive side of things, I've been really back and forth on this one because I just don't know what Andy Reid's going to do with the offense. I have no idea. So it's going to really, for me, it's going to come down to what the offensive line does in this game. So I know this sounds nuts, but I need Jawaan Taylor to have a game this week.
Yeah.
Look, no Max Crosby, right? Yeah. So you think like, they're just going to dominate. Under no circumstances. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Jawaan Taylor has to have a perfect game.
Yeah.
I need him to shut out. Dude, you made $80 million from the Chiefs. 80.
Our tackles in general.
You got paid like a left tackle, bro.
Yeah.
You got paid like a left tackle. You're playing right tackle. Not saying that's an easy position. It's a lot easier than left tackle.
You need Donovan Smith to be better too, man.
But I'm focusing on the guy that's making the money.
Sure.
Go and earn that check for once, for God's sakes, dude. Because I don't think he's getting enough criticism.
Manhandle some guys, make some some highlight plays. You're pancaking somebody or dropping somebody.
Yeah, and to your point, because I know everybody likes to get their jokes off about Orlando Brown. Yeah. Do you know who has a 14-point higher grade this year than Donovan Smith? Orlando Brown Jr. So, to your point about Donovan Smith, he's not playing as good as people thought he was going to. Right. He's definitely not been an upgrade at left tackle.
Not an upgrade, no.
And to be honest with you, Jawaan Taylor, I don't even know if he's been an upgrade to Andrew Wiley yet. It's been pretty neck and neck, man. He looks like Andrew Wiley out there a lot of times. I know he did get picked on early in the year with some of these penalties. I'm not even talking about the penalties.
Yeah.
There's times they're sending 2 tight ends on the right side for chip protection. That's insane.
I give them the benefit of the doubt. It's a new system. It's a whole different offense over here than it was in Jacksonville.
It's Doug Peterson's offense he came from.
Oh, this is a different offense, though. And it's a different quarterback. I mean,
it's essentially Andy's offense that Doug just changed a little. It's coming from the same tree.
They play a different offense over there in Jacksonville, dude.
It's West Coast. It's still West Coast offense. My point is that I need Jawaan Taylor to show me in this game that, hey, I'm going to be here for the next 3 to 5 years, and I'm going to be the guy. And I'm gonna show Patrick Mahomes he can trust me because you see it, dude.
Well, you better hope for Veach's sake. Sure.
There are times where you see Patrick Mahomes, he just does not trust his. We talk about how he doesn't trust his wide receivers. Dude, he gets antsy in the pocket sometimes just because of the fact he doesn't trust his tackles.
He's run the most he ever has in his career this season.
And yet, what's weird enough is he's avoided so many sacks too. He's not getting sacked
that's
either.
That's just because Pat's incredible pocket presence and knowing where the pressures come, even when he doesn't see it, he feel it, and he knows when to run, when not to run, how to escape. That's just Pat being incredible, man.
These are the 2 guys I have right now. Like I said, it's going to be interior guys. I know that's not as fun or as sexy to pick. I know a lot of people like to hear from wide receivers, quarterbacks, things like that. But I think this is going to be one of those games where if the Chiefs just simply control the physicality side of things, which, by the way, they did on both sides of the ball in the Eagles game, which everyone was talking about. Oh, yeah, the Eagles are more of a physical team. Bro. Chiefs went in there and put it on them again. Second straight time. In the Super Bowl, the Chiefs did the same thing.
Defensively and offensively.
Yeah, didn't allow a sack.
Both of our lines were dominant.
I mean, you sacked Jalen Hurts 5 freaking times in the first half.
Yeah, dude.
5 times.
Yeah.
That offensive line?
I don't think that's happened all year. That hasn't happened all year against them.
Not even close. Jalen Hurts has had some games where he's been hit here and there because he got injured and things like that, but that is a great offensive line. Yeah. And they were all up in his ass that whole freaking first half. Set the tone, set the precedent. I see the same thing going down this week. I don't think it's going to be any different, if not even better. I think that's what you're going to see from guys like Charles Omenihu, who's going to come in here, make an impression, because now I think he's really starting to get his legs under him. I think you're really starting to see more of Charles being Charles.
We need a Chucky game, man. I definitely need that.
Charlie Sachs is coming into play this week. I think that's what's going to happen. I think he makes a big impression in this one. It could be Chris Jones. I'm not ruling that out, but I just feel like when you pick Chris Jones, it's kind of like one of those no shit.
Karlaftis has been on a tear lately too.
Could be Mike Dana. It could be Drew Tranquil. It could be L'Jarius Sneed. It could be Trent McDuffie. I mean, they're sending blitzes. Steve's bags has just been in his bag this year. I love what he's doing with this defense. I think this is the perfect defense for him. This is what he's always looked for, always what he's always wanted. And again, on that offensive side, man, I think that all starts with the protection. If Patrick knows that he can trust his tackles and they're going to be there for him and they're going to give him that time where they don't have to send over running backs and send over tight ends to chip and allow those guys to create out there in space and become receiving options, viable receiving options, this offense can and will start clicking. I do believe that, and I do think that's what's going to happen this week. So the pressure cooker is on, man, because some of these guys that are making the money need to start showing that they're worth the money. Because I'm done with MVS. I'm done with Sky Moore. I've made my peace with those guys.
I said my piece last in the post game.
I'm not done with Jawan Taylor.
No.
I'm not done with him. I think that he can still grow within this offense.
Book might be done with him. But.
Yeah, Book's definitely done with him, and I don't blame him because Book's a former player and he understands fully what it takes. And I understand the questions he has with Jawan. And when you're making the money you're making, bro, the expectations do change.
Of course.
You have to be able to go out there and perform at a high level, and he just has not done that to this point. And I just think that there needs to come a point where it's like, okay, bro, who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you in this offense? Are you going to be a contributor or not? Are you going to be a mistake? Because right now, I'd give him a C+. I think that he's been a C+ player, just an average at best right tackle. They didn't pay him $80 million to be an average tackle. They paid him to be a top-tier, pass-protecting tackle that Patrick Mahomes doesn't even have to worry about his right side.
I thought he held his own last week against some of the best defense edge rushers.
I didn't. I thought Hassan Reddick was beating the shit out of him.
Well, I mean, it's Hassan Reddick. Who doesn't he beat the shit out of him? He dominates damn near everybody and he's been arguably having his best year of his career this year, Hassan Reddick. So he's been incredible this year. I get it, and I do expect this offensive line to be absolutely dominant, especially with a Max Crosby-less defensive line that's already bad outside of Max Crosby. So if Max Crosby's out, I better not see Pat. No one on that right side should smell Patrick Mahomes' cologne this game at all. So I'm with you on that, man.
Well, Patrick doesn't wear cologne. Maybe they weren't smelling it at all, and that really messes with their confidence.
Probably wearing them stinky underwear that he wears every game. He said he doesn't wear them in game, so it's just to the game. That's what he said. them red undies, man. My guy.
Well, while we wait for our guy Jason to show up, which I'm sure he'll be here in no time, there was a couple comments I saw on the chat that I wanted to get to, Trevor, real quick. I know we're going to be holding off to speak in just a second.
Yeah.
But I saw a couple comments that I wanted to get to in just a second.
There's a few in there.
Well, Shaggy did bring up the McKinnon injury is indeed a concern.
I'm not too concerned about it.
All right. So Jason just let us know he'll be on in 5.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll be here in a second. So in the meantime, while we got you guys, so I think that people are agreeing with us on the Jerick McKinnon injury because of the fact that it's so weird too. Because when you have a guy that hasn't performed at a high level yet this season, you would think that people would kind of either forget about him or they wouldn't really calculate them into an offensive factor where it's like, oh damn, they're going to miss him. But I think it's because people know that this should be the revamping or the gearing up of what Jerick McKinnon was last season, because that's exactly how they used him last season, where December 1st hit and all of a sudden Jerick McKinnon became a thing. And then he scores 8 touchdowns within about a 5-6 week stretch.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm expecting Jerick McKinnon to become again this offense even more so because they don't have Juju this season.
Right.
So while everyone else has to go up a peg, that means Jerick McKinnon's going up a peg as well. And he was one of their most legitimate pass options. I think honestly, Jerick McKinnon probably ended up being the second most legit pass option that Patrick Mahomes had, even over Juju.
Yeah.
Because his job was that much easier to get open in space on those little wheel routes, those under
let's
routes.
Be honest, he's more dynamic than Juju. I mean, Juju is very good at creating space and moving the sticks, but you get the ball in the hands of McKinnon, he is incredibly effective at not only making guys miss, but finding ways to slip into the end zone.
Yep.
You know, from close distances, from far distances, the guy just had an incredible nose for the end zone, and that's why I like Kadarius in this game because not only is McKinnon out with those gadgety plays that can be structured for him, dump offs and bubble screen kind of plays, and McColl's out. Him and McColl both are out. So that's why I like Kadarius in this game because I think that opens up a lot more opportunities for Kadarius. And we saw some hints of it last week.
Yeah.
Kadarius is so deadly with the ball in his hands. It's really just always comes down to the matter of health for him, obviously. That's the only thing because that guy is as talented as they come, I think, in my mind, with the ball in his hands. The guy is incredible, making guys miss. He looked really good on the punt returns as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about McKinnon. I think this is just a slight little tweak that he's dealing with, and he'll be back. I think this is for me personally, I'm looking at this as a 1 week absence because I do believe the Chiefs understand why he's here.
Right.
He's a guy that they were going to reserve for this time of the year anyways. I think December was the month that we do unleash him, and I think this is just kind of a kind of save him from himself kind of issue.
Yeah.
We know, I think we're very confident we can go beat the Raiders with or without McKinnon. And McColl is dealing with the thumb. I think that's something that's a little more worrisome in my mind.
I saw the injury,
as a
too.
special teams guy.
Yeah.
You don't want anything going on with the phalanges. You don't want to be hurting the fingers of the thumbs. That's something you don't want for your predominant punt and kick returner.
Having said that, and I wanted to kind of veer to this real quick before we have Jason on, it might have ultimately been a blessing in disguise for McColl I'm not saying to get injured, obviously, because we don't want to see that happen, but we know that McColl's going to have a place in this offense no matter what.
Yep.
We don't know that about Kadarius Toney. What we do know, though, is Kadarius Toney's deadly as a punt returner.
Deadly.
And we said, hey, listen, don't use him as a punt returner.
Can you do too much at times? Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, but we saw, coming into the season, like, look, he's supposed to be wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
God, look how far that's come.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be wide receiver 1. So don't use him in punt returns. What the hell y'all doing, man? You know this guy's got injury concerns. Don't do that. Now I'm like, put him at punt return.
Well, we saw it in the Super Bowl, man, the biggest of stages.
And how wild is that?
The longest punt return in Super Bowl history.
His most effective ways is an open field with the ball. Well, when you're a punt returner, you're in the open field, and you're kind of every man for himself, and it's just, go hit him. And I think that's what he's showing that he can do that. Yes.
Yeah, man.
So although I like McColl as the punt returner, don't get me wrong here.
Yeah.
I like Kadarius there too. And if it's going to take McColl a little time to come back, I don't think the Chiefs are going to really miss a beat at punt return. Because, my whole original stance was just fair catch it or let it bounce. Because, just get the offense on the field.
And get him any yards he can. Yeah.
But now Kadarius, it's like, well, I kind of like what he does.
Ankles,
he's out there shaking fools, and he made some big plays against the Eagles. I liked some of the returns he had. If he can keep that up, then I'm not going to dismiss it, and I would like to see him potentially maybe get that job. Because if they're not going to play him on the offense, play him in the special teams. Make sense of that trade somehow.
Oh, he's gonna get He's gonna get both. Trust me.
Well,
I think he's gonna be
they got to start making sense of the trade somehow, man, because they haven't made sense of it at all over the last year. Because we're not seeing Kadarius really take any step or any progress in this offense. He's not out there running routes. Even on the plays he made in the offense this week, it was little handoffs and dump offs. He's not playing like a guy that's supposed to be your wide receiver 1, let alone wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, anything like that. We're not seeing it from him. Yeah. We're not seeing the snaps. We're not seeing the opportunities. If he's going to give you those opportunities and be an effective player in special teams, then let him do that. Because otherwise, it just doesn't make even sense to have him on the team.
Well, and I think there's never been a better opportunity. If this lines up perfectly for him to have a Kadarius game. And for Andy Reid to draw up some plays for him to eat. Because McColl and McKinnon both being out, those are a lot of those play calls could very well go to Kadarius.
Right.
They're all similar players, and I think Kadarius is the most effective as far as overall receiver and running back, because we know he can run the ball too. We've had some designed runs for him already this season. He's also ran into his own players a couple times on some of those, so that's not very impressive either. I'm a Kadarius truther, and I have been. We haven't seen him on the field enough this year, obviously, because I think they've been holding him back and saving him from himself, similar to McKinnon. But he did come off a knee surgery this season, heading into this year, so I am hoping that we see, man, and my juices are gonna be flowing, man. If I see my guy have a big week this week, because this offense needs someone like that to step up. And if he can step up and become that receiver, that reliable guy that can make big plays, we need splash play receivers, man. We just haven't had them. The only guy who's really done it has been Rashee Rice. You know what I mean? And he scored more touchdowns than we probably even expected already through this season. So this just lines up for me for a big Kadarius spot. And obviously the running game. I think Clyde could even eat in this game as well. If there becomes garbage time, I think you can see Clyde maybe get in the end zone as well in this game. So
we also have a guy, Shaggy Shane, comment said we had talking about Arrowhead Allies, for another sister show of Starcade Media from our show here. He said we had former Chiefs Raiders running back Harvey Williams on our show this week, and he still believes that the Chiefs will overcome this recent slump and eventually go to the Super Bowl and play the 49ers. That is, look, I love the optimism, and I still believe, like I said, this Chiefs team can go to the Super Bowl and win and do all the things that we want them to do. But I don't like the oversimplification that they're just going to overcome a slump, because this is not a slump.
No, this is a trend.
This is
more
who
than
they
a
are.
trend. It's just, it's an identity at this point.
Yes, and I think that we need to accept that. We need to quit sitting here looking and waiting and anticipating that they're just going to all of a sudden become the 99 Rams.
Well, yeah, acceptance has to come before growth.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Guys, we know what this wide receiver room is, and it's killing this offense. So this offense is going to have to overcome it. It's not overcoming a slump. This isn't, great players. Like 2021 was a slump. A legitimate slump. That was Patrick Mahomes struggling. It was Tyreek Hill struggling. It was the offense struggling to play without turning the damn ball over 3 or 4 times a game. Once they overcame that, they were unstoppable as an offense. Ironically, it was the same problem that ended their season prematurely in the AFC Championship. That's what that team was, right? So this team has its own set of circumstances, and it's drop passes, missed opportunities, and a lack of trust from the wide receiver room and the offensive tackles positions. That's what's happening, guys. That's why we are where we're at when it comes to this offense. Can they get better? Sure. I'm not going to sit here, though, and give the benefit of the doubt to guys that have never earned it. Because like I told you guys, the whole reason I had a problem with this wide receiver room from the beginning was there was no proven commodities outside of a couple wide receiver threes in MVS and Justin Watson. We knew what they were. I don't know why people were convincing themselves that these guys were going to take this massive next step when they were already 28, 29 years old.
This is why, listen, if we're willing to go out there and put a real-life offense out there where Justin Watson gets 11 targets, can we please try that this week with Rashee Rice getting 11 and 10-plus targets? Can we maybe try to get Kadarius Toney maybe 9 to 10 targets? See what happens there? Because there's far more upside with those kind of guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why are we – I know – listen, I'm not – this is not shade on Justin Watson either. Like, he's – possibly a reliable guy that can maybe move the sticks, 5-6 times a week. Cool. But there just is not enough upside for me. After the catch, things like that. Like, and then obviously his drops as well. I want to see what this offense looks like as far as a spark goes, maybe finding a new level to this offense, because we all know there's much needed untapped potential, I think, in this talent pool of the receivers that we have and or lack thereof. But the talented guys aren't getting the looks as much, in my opinion. I'm not saying Justin Watson isn't talented, but we know what he is. He's kind of a vanilla receiver who's got good speed.
And it's a difficult place to be at, too, because of the fact that people are asking the question, like, well, why is Rashee Rice, when he gets a catch, they stand him on the sidelines? Guys, you have to remember, he is still a rookie. Yeah. This is still an offense he's very much learning. It's a very intricate offense, a very detailed offense. You can't expect him to be out there and run the 2-minute drill and be the primary focus of the offense. That's not how it works. They scheme a play for him, then they go and sit him and scheme other plays for everybody else that's been more familiarized with the offense. That's how it goes.
It is a catch-22 there, though, because for me, like I said, it's a double-edged sword situation, because I don't like that either, because I feel like he's very effective, and I feel like just he's raw, and I think you should just try to give him more opportunities, whether he knows a lot of the plays or not. I think just keeping him on the field to keep the defenses honest as well, but the lack of rhythm. I think we shoot we shoot ourselves in the foot a lot of times by taking the rhythm away when we do get a guy rolling and then we take him out the field. That is, I understand both points though.
Yeah.
Because when you're rolling, you typically kind of want to keep rolling with that momentum, but then you take that momentum away by taking the guys that created the momentum off the field.
Right.
And that's tough, man, because the rookie just happens to be the most effective guy so far, and he doesn't know the offense as much as the other guys, so we have to kind of take him off the field. But it also kind of stymies the momentum that we're rolling with offensively by taking him off the field. Well, so it is a catch-22.
Yeah, and you have to kind of view it. You remember the movie 300 where the guys all worked in unison. They blocked at the perfect time, then stuck, and then blocked. Right. Like, when you have a guy like Rashee Rice that may not be familiarized completely with the offense, there are going to be plays where he's supposed to block, and if he doesn't block because he doesn't know, that leaves an opportunity for Patrick Mahomes to get hit.
On some blocks.
A big hit in the backfield that cause a fumble that takes back for a touchdown. Like, Andy Reid's thinking about those things. So Andy Reid's credit, that is what's happening. But again, when you build an offense that's like this, to where you have to rely on a guy like that, that's kind of the problem you created, because you're not going to play him as much as you think you should or people want you to. But you don't have the other guys around him to justify not playing him as much.
He's effective.
It's very confusing why they did it the way they did, man. And then this is why this offense, everything feels so difficult, even on scoring drives. More times than not, I mean, I remember the opening drive against the Dolphins was beautiful. Great freaking drive, man. That was the easiest drive I think they've had all season. Yeah. And outside of that, though, every single even scoring drive is like, damn, that wore me out.
Well, it's frustrating, dude, because we get yards, we move the ball from the 20 to the 20. We have no problem being effective and moving the ball. Even playing balanced, run this play, run the ball, pass the ball. Like we continue to get down towards the red zone or within the 10 zone, within the 10 to 15, and we continue just to have blunders in the red zone. That's what's shooting us. That's what's killing us, man. That's what's shooting ourselves in the foot in those situations as far as scoring and finishing the drives. You know what I mean? And then we're not settling for field goals because we still want to be this aggressive offense, but we don't have the horses to get those plays done and be effective at being aggressive and finishing the drives with touchdowns. So,
all right, awesome. Okay, that was perfect timing.
We got our guy in here, man.
All right, so let's get strapped up. I hope you guys are ready to go. Looks like we have a lot of viewers, a lot of listeners right now. You guys get your questions in right now if you want to as well, because I'm sure Jason would answer a couple of them if he has time. He's a busy man, and we appreciate all the time he gives us. But this is a guy, like I said, guys, former Chief, longtime Chief. Guy played for the Eagles as well, so I know that game last week meant a lot to him in more ways than one. But this man is a big-time Chief. He's a guy that a lot of people go to for advice, myself included. He's a great friend of ours, a brother of ours, a friend of the show, a brother of the show. Has a hit show with our guy Marcus Dash called Chief Concerns. If you guys haven't been paying attention to that, I don't know what the hell y'all doing, because they've had some great guests on as well. Something I would definitely want to get to and talk about in a minute as well, because they had a guest on this week that I very much admire, very much respect, and it's going to be something that we're definitely going to talk about. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and give it up for our guy Jason DUNN. Can you hear us?
Can you hear us? There he is.
Checking. Y'all hear me?
Oh, yeah. What's up, Jason?
What's going on? What's happening,
What's up, man?
Dude, it goes without saying it's been far too damn long since we've had you on our show, man. It really sucks that it's taken this long, but you're a busy guy, dude, and you guys have your show's absolutely killing it. I watch your guys' episodes every single week. And you, Tasia, and Marcus, you guys have been doing an incredible job. I've missed doing work with you guys on post games. I've been a little busy on my end, but you guys, I never miss a show. You guys have had great shows. Just to kind of get up to speed with some of the people that maybe have just now started watching your guys' show, or maybe haven't yet to this point. Just kind of catch some of the people up, man. What you guys been doing with Chief Concerns this last year, because it's been an absolute success for you guys.
Yeah, man, and I tell you what, man, that's been just an absolute blessing for us coming in. Our show has been growing, and we got picked up by Bleacher Report, which is a huge deal, to try to do something that's kind of create a little bit more of the market out in Kansas City, and they liked what we were doing, and so they reached out to us about coming on and maybe doing a collaboration with them, and it's worked. It's it's one of those things. Where you have your own production, you want to do it your own time, and then they have your times that they want to do things, and so you just got to put all those stuff together. But the thing is, man, it's been fun. It's been fun. I've enjoyed it, and so like you said, we've been a lot of different followers, new followers coming in, and just kind of seeing like, hey, man, where y'all guys been at? We didn't even know y'all existed, and so you know how it is in this market, man. It's just there's a whole lot of things going on, a whole lot of podcasts, a whole lot of different things, and y'all been doing a tremendous job. I love everything that y'all doing, on Twitter. Plus, like I just said, man, I get to see my brothers. So, man, good seeing y'all, man. Seriously, I'm excited.
Course,
I'm excited just to catch up with you all.
Dude, we we're going to miss an opportunity. I know we wanted to have you on last week selfishly because of the Chiefs-Eagles matchup. We know that you played for both these franchises, but, dude, you got a lot going on. So anytime you can give us, we greatly appreciate it, man. And I love, like I said, that you guys got to join up with Bleacher Report. That's a huge get. But honestly, man, they're benefiting off of you guys because of the fact that you guys bring it every single week. And I personally believe you guys have the best show in the Chiefs community because you have the unique aspect of being able to have a fan's perspective and a former player's perspective, which is actually where I want to start on this, man, because you guys had a big time guest last week, and I was so glad you texted me and asked me if I had any questions that I wanted to ask Al. I've always had questions I've always wanted to ask Al Saunders because he was the first offensive coordinator that I really felt like I understood, because I was young in the early 2000s when you were playing and the Chiefs offense was clicking, and Al had a lot to do with that. I mean, him and Dick Vermeil were just these offensive-minded guys that just knew how to work an offense. You guys were so talented top to bottom in offense, from the great offensive line, tight ends, wide receivers, and obviously the quarterback and running back position as well. You guys just had what it took. I think that should have been. I think you guys should have won the Super Bowl, man, at least once. And I think there was a lot of things that offense did great, and Al Saunders was a big part of that. And watching and listening to you guys talk with him, and something he had mentioned about the differences in the offenses and why they're not as effective sometimes in today's NFL is because of the fact that a lot of quarterbacks don't line up under center, and how that takes away from the run game a lot of times. And I hadn't really thought much about that, because I'm so accustomed to it, JD, where quarterbacks are constantly in the gun that you almost forget about it. And when you see a quarterback take a snap under center, it looks like a different game almost, and it is almost a different game. And so Al made a great point in that. I love that you guys touched on that, but if you could maybe expand on that a little bit on our show a little bit as to what you see from that perspective, because I know you agreed with Al. I definitely agreed with Al. Do you think that the Chiefs maybe need to start to utilize that, especially in matchups like this against the Raiders, against a bad, porous run defense, where they can start leaning into the run game just a little bit more, and maybe getting Patrick under center a little bit might add a little diversity to their offense?
Yeah, man. There's a lot there, but that's actually a point I have been making for quite some time about quarterbacks being underneath the center. And so when you see that, what it does, okay, for one, it helps set up the play action pass a lot better. Okay, because you had to go back, hand it off. You do the little hide the football, where it's a little bit different, where linebackers can see you from depth. 5 yards, 7 yards back. They can see what you're actually doing. And so what it also does with the running back is he doesn't come downhill as much. And so we see some of the plays that we do the wide zone. It takes a long time to develop that. And so linebackers, DBs, they can read it. And so when it's a little bit more play action, guys kind of running, as opposed to east and west, they're running north to south. So we're going straight down the hill on the play action, whether it be wide zone, mid zone, inside zone. All the lanes are different, okay? All the junction parts when you give the ball up is different to see. Another thing, too, for a quarterback, and this is a point I made, Patrick is already catching the ball at 7 yards. He's sitting back at 7 yards to catch the ball. Then he retreats even more. So that's like another 12 yards that you're putting actually in the drop, where in the typical being under center, you would have a 3-step, 5-step, 7-step drop. That's how it was. And so what it helps do is the tackles know where the quarterback's going to be, okay, because you're blocking that. I understand as a tackle or as a tight end, if I'm blocking, I know just feeling it where my quarterback is going to be. But if I'm dropping back further than that, and I've always said this, okay, the Chiefs' tackles is always going to have a harder time than everybody else. People don't realize that. And the point I was making is because he's catching the ball and dropping back another 5 yards. He's dropping back further than everybody else. Everybody just believes that, 10 yards and 12 yards is not a big difference. It is in the NFL. It is. Yeah. When you got defensive ends who's coming back, who's just knowing, like, look, I know he sits back further than everybody else. I just have to beat the tackle with this punch, right? Or getting this to this level. Let me go ahead and press him. He's going to stay back. And then Pat retreats, trying to get away too, trying to extend with his legs. So there's a lot there as far as like being under center that helps you out, helps you stay in the pocket more, right? And as well, like the inside part where the guards, they know as well, like, look, I got to go ahead and attack a guy now on the line of scrimmage. If you're sitting back in the pocket, now the guards, they sit back a little bit further. And so that goes into, let's talk about Jawaan Taylor at the very beginning of the year, how far he was sitting back. And I was sitting there saying, well, look, Trey's sitting back. Jawan's sitting on himself based off where Trey is sitting,
right.
And so Trey's trying to get that extra room because he knows Pat's sitting back far enough. So Trey knows he has to absorb a guy as opposed to catching a guy on the line of scrimmage. And I would see Brian Waters, Will Shields, they would just attack guys on the line of scrimmage and keep them right there. And they would give Trent that amount of space to work. So if he needed to step up in the pocket, he could. It's a little bit different now when you got a guy who's always constantly in the gun. He's sitting back. They know they had to absorb. And you see defensive tackles down, they could just tee off on the guard because they know a guard's going to be sitting back at 5 yards. Well, if he's sitting back at 5 yards, he's retreating, and I'm coming forward. I'm sorry. I can't see a guy stopping me. If I got a 5-yard start, I know I can push you back and you're going backwards, that I can keep pressing you, and just stay in the quarterback's face. So there's a lot of different things there, but the running game, without a doubt, is the biggest issue. Is just because, it just takes a little bit longer to get the ball, then hand the ball off. Okay. So when Al was sitting there talking about those things, when we're talking about red zone, I heard y'all talking about the red zone a little bit earlier. Then guess what? The linebackers can see, well, they don't have to fall for the play action pass. They don't have to play, they'll fall for it. And two, to be honest with you, the running backs, they love it. They love it a lot better. So now we see Pacheco, he's got to wait for the ball to get there to him, as opposed to getting a running start. He knows he's coming right downhill now. If you look at some of the plays, okay, and I know y'all probably seen this, a lot of our negative plays are plays that Pacheco doesn't do particularly well. It's always trying to hand the ball off and he's coming across the body. And I tell you, you check the games out, you will absolutely see that is the problem, because he has to stop, start. It's not the one cut and go. Now he's trying to figure out the lanes, and now he's just like, well, shoot, I just got to make something happen. It's almost like he's back in college at Rutgers when it's not a clean opening. So he's just got to try to make what he can and make do. And he's been doing a very good job at that. But we haven't been doing a very good job on third down anyway. We haven't been very consistent in the running game. And even when the running game is working, somehow we just decide we just want to go against it. Yeah, okay, well, we're just not going to run the second half like we did the first half, okay? Even though Pacheco was doing all the things he needed to do, getting positive yards, hard yards, maybe it just didn't feel sexy enough. Maybe he wasn't doing enough, I guess, on the offensive side of the ball. But, Al was just talking about a lot of those different things, man. Al has such a wealth of knowledge, and that's why we wanted to have him on, because I understand that when I'm talking about creating plays, he just had such a brilliant mind. When I was just sitting in meetings and things he would talk about, the concepts of what he would do. When I would see Al at, different events, he'll still get into, like, just talking about, JD, I wish we gave the ball to you more. And he'll talk about a play, which I'm kidding you not, 15, 16 years ago. And he knows what play it was. And I'm like, daggone, Al, like, how do you remember that? It's crazy. I mean, I'm seriously, like, his minds, you could tell, like, great offense coordinators, their minds just work differently. And so he was diagnosing what the Chiefs, the problems were. Obviously, without trying to blame people and saying names, what the issue may be. But he did. He alluded to a lot of the problems that the Chiefs was having, and a lot of it was in the running game, right, in the passing game. But yeah, man, I just there's a lot of good stuff there. And then we had Larry Kirksey on too. Larry Kirksey came on, who's a wide receiver coach, Coach Jerry Rice, J.J. Stokes, T.O., Andre Johnson, had D-Hop at the end of it, the first of his career. I mean, Larry Kirksey had some really, I'm talking about some dogs, the wide receiver position.
Yeah, that's quite a catalog.
Yeah. And then me and Larry was talking, and this is kind of off camera. He said, man, can you believe this? I was like, what? He said, all this stuff that they're trying to talk about, the RPO, they act like it's something new. I said, man, Larry, I tell you, I understand. I know. This RPO stuff, we've been doing the RPO. We've been doing that.
Right.
Run pass option. It's no different. It's a check with me. It's an option route. There's no different. Okay. Or the quarterback's tagging you. That's all it is. So he's like, yeah. He said the thing is, these new guys just think they're brilliant with everything. We've been doing. I was doing it back then with Bill Walsh and Jerry Rice. I was like, okay, yeah, I know, but this is some of the things we see, man. Some of the things we see in here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my whole hang up right now. And I don't want to reminisce too much on this game between the Chiefs and the Eagles because, on this show, we have our own post-game show. You have your own post-game show. We tend to move forward and start looking to what's next. On to Cincinnati, as Bill Belichick once so eloquently said. But, I feel like the Chiefs I feel like all three losses have been the exact same, JD. That the Chiefs have suffered this year. And I put a tweet out there. SportsCenter ended up using it this week. When I posted the pictures of wide receivers having balls hit them right in the hands, talking about, this is the difference between 10-0 and 7-3. And I genuinely do believe that. And I know you and I have had our discussions on and off camera You and Marcus have had your discussions on camera, off camera, I'm sure as well, about what the Chiefs needed to do this offseason with getting wide receivers. They didn't do it. They didn't do it in the trade deadline. So I know, like, you guys were very heavy on saying, they have what they have now, guys. We have to worry about what they have now. And I do agree. There's nothing they can do about it now, so we're not going to sit here and rehash on what they could have or should have done. What I am going to say, though, is I'm very concerned, JD, because of the fact that, Brett Veach did allow this to be the wide receiver room, not once but twice when he's had opportunities to make those changes. And now we're seeing that paying dividends on the negative side of things, where even with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce having some blunders in the red zone, you can live with that because those guys will make up for it. What I can't live with, though, is a wide receiver that's making $11 million, having 0 catches and 0 yards, and have a ball hit him on the palms in a way that you would assume they would win the game, because there was like a minute and change left. The Chiefs defense has been shutting down the Eagles more times than not in that game. I would believe the Chiefs would win that game if MBS catches that ball. It's the same thing with, Kadarius Toney in week 1, tip drilling the ball to the Lions defender, pick 6, Chiefs lose by 1. This is a formula that's starting to worry me, and this is why I said that I wish that Andy Reid would do something that I know he's not comfortable with, which is changing up his scheme a little bit, allowing the run game to take a little bit more of the focus, and allowing your offense to dictate the pace and outcome of games, to where defenses have to start playing more base, more man, to that will help Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce get more in rhythm, to where the run game is what's causing the defenses to have to get on their heels, and then your offense has as much fluidity as it possibly can, because now there's nothing you can do with the wide receiver room. That's true. You have to overcome it now. And if they're going to win a Super Bowl, they're going to have to overcome it. And I think the only way you're going to do that is if you start playing a little bit more of that old school style of football, where you run the ball a little bit more than what you're accustomed to, and creating more of a mystery to your offense, because throwing the ball 43 times with this wide receiver core in a game that you put up 17 points in, to me, just doesn't make any sense, especially when Isaiah Pacheco was as physically and as dominant as he was in that first half, when the offensive line was pushing up and succeeding against that good Eagles defense. And on the flip side, when your defense is getting 5 sacks in the first half, to me, that's when you lean into it. And it's frustrating to me, because I feel like Andy is just kind of stuck in his ways a little bit of how he's calling these offenses, to the point where it's almost costing the team, because I just don't believe that in that game and in that scenario, you should have Patrick be throwing the ball 43 times and 11 of those targets come to Justin Watson. Do you see it the same way, or do you see it a little differently?
No, I agree with you. I do. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. And, that's kind of been the MO with Andy. When he was up in Philly, that's what he would do. And it's a lot of frustrations for people up there would talk about Andy would, get into the passing game, and he have his way he would do things. And we do. We have a very capable back in Isaiah Pacheco. And that's how you manage a game. You manage the game in the second half by running the football. When you're up on a team by 10 points, get the ball back. They held them at the half when they came out. Okay, now have your workhorse go to work. That's what you do. I always said this: the big guys up front want to push on guys. They want to make sure that they're hitting guys in the mouth. That's better for a Donovan Smith and a Juwan Taylor and a Trey Smith and a Thuney and Creed. To them, that's their game. That's their game. And I would even surmise that they were dominant on that front. This whole jogging it up a defensive front that everybody was talking about. Well, they have smaller linebackers, okay, that on the defensive ends, they create a lot of problems on teams because of their speed on outside. Well, what do you do with smaller defensive ends? You run at them. That's what you do.
Right.
We were having some great fits the first half, and it was some tough yards. It was some really tough yards. And that's what I said. I don't know if the law is just where they don't believe like the offense is moving at the pace that they wanted to. But what I did see in that too is when he run the football effectively, Patrick's able to get the ball out of his hand quicker, right?
Right.
He could throw, the slant or, the quick, out or the comeback, whatever he needs to do, or just throw it right there in their space. But kind of talk to the receiver group, all right? And so, yeah, we had what we had, okay? And I'm with you. We was all on the train of trying to get DeAndre Hopkins here. People didn't like it, said he was old. Oh, he's washed up and stuff. But there was 2 things I knew we was going to be able to get when we had DeAndre Hopkins, okay? All right. One, and this is what Larry Kirksey was saying because he knew him because he coached him. He said, DeAndre Hopkins can make any catch that you want him to make. He can make any play out there that any wide receiver can make. He can do it. That's what he's good at. He's been doing that for the past 10 years or so, being one of the most prolific wide receivers in the game. But apparently everybody wants to look at their age. Oh, he's too old to be hit with shoot. DeAndre Hopkins, those catches that guys were missing that we have in our wide receiver core, DeAndre Hopkins would be in the end zone. Okay? It'd be first downs. It wouldn't be any question of trust with Patrick Mahomes and DeAndre Hopkins, right? But that's neither here nor there. Number two, what he would have brought to the table is his experience. He was known to help younger guys out because guess what? He learned from an older guy what it means to be a pro, things that he would do. And so that veteran presence is very important with a very inexperienced wide receiver room. I mean, that is absolutely key. And so another point I made is because we have such a young wide receiver coach, okay, and the new offensive coordinator calling plays, when you have a veteran guy that knows routes, that's ran every route that's possible, okay, been in every offense. Heck, you look at the quarterbacks he's had in his life. You got the best in the game now. Come on, man, it would have been match made in heaven, the way I look at it. But a veteran presence definitely would have made everybody else around them better. To me, who's the leader in that team? Who's the leader in that group? I mean, not the team, but the group. Who's the leader? The elder statesman in that group is MVS. He's the one that got the most years out of everybody in that group. We talk about Rashee Rice, okay? And Rashee Rice is a very talented guy. He's our number one wide receiver. He's the one that's been eating the most. But Rashee Rice got some work to do.
Right.
I went through, you know what I did this when we didn't have, Thanksgiving. I went back through 3 games and I just started watching wide receiver routes. So watching things that they're running. And he's green. He is. He's green on the outside. He ran. I told this to a wide receiver. I'm not going to tell you. We was talking yesterday. I was like, man, I seen Rashee Rice run a 10-yard out. It took him 5 yards to get out of the break on a 10-yard out. He just started laughing at me. He's like, JD, ain't no. I said, man, I'm telling you. I said, man, I had to show you the play. When you see this route on an outside, an out route, it's a bad route. It's terrible. It's horrible. And so Larry Kirksey, the wide receiver guru, the coach, is telling me, hey, part of those things why these guys are doing this is they probably being coached that way, okay? And nobody's really saying anything to them to correct them, but that is an indication of coaching. And we can't get past that. And so whether it be Andy, whether it be Nagy, whether it be the wide receiver coach, Embry, whoever it is, there's some communications that's not happening. The guys are not necessarily getting it. And so what are the things that you do? If you're not getting something right in football, I know people keep the cliche things that you got to go back to work, but in football, that's what you have to do. I mean, that's you got to practice it out of you, okay? To get that confidence, you have to go back to the drawing board, practice the fundamentals, practice all the techniques. You got to get and make sure that you understand what you have to do on each and every play. And what I just don't see is I just don't see the crispness of guys getting open and the routes concepts and understanding exactly where they need to be when you're supposed to be there. And that's Al's thing. Al was like, be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there, okay? Because a lot of things we did was on timing routes. So if Eddie Kennison was running the out route, the ball was already there before his head was turning around. Trent was already throwing the ball, anticipating that Eddie's going to be there. He already knew that, right? Now, Patrick has the talent to make any throw. I mean, he's got a cannon, right? Probably one of the most talented arms we've seen in the NFL in a long time, okay? A long time. The thing is, they still kind of fool the quarterback. Patrick is still sitting there thinking like, I'm thinking you're going to do something else, and you completely fooling me. Like the one Justin Watson ran, he ran a great route to begin with. Stacking, getting back over the corner, but he didn't go back outside. That's where Patrick threw the ball. Yep. Right? And it was just like, dude, I'm sitting over on my couch just watching this, and I'm just like, what the hell's going on? Like, how did he not to go back outside? How did you not see those things? Same thing with MVS dropping the ball. And it's like the wide receiver I was talking to yesterday, he said, JD, he could have ran through the ball. I said, absolutely. I would say the same thing. He stopped his feet because when you stop your feet, you're just trying to secure the catch. And that's what he was trying to do. That's why part of the dive, part of those things, he didn't run through the ball.
Right.
If he ran through the ball, he's scoring. Okay. But he stops his feet, and he should have just kept, and you, what you do when the ball is coming through on a deep route, when you go up, you got to look the ball all the way in. And I get, Tyreek said it. I understand it. I've been there. I've dropped a deep ball before too.
It's a tough catch. Yeah.
Trace you to walk everything into your hands, right? And the timing of the route is very key. It's very important. But if you're not working on those things in practice, you're not doing enough of it, okay? It's almost like you're reverting back to like day one, okay? And that's why I said, man, he needs to go out there and catch at least 25 deep balls after practice every single day. Every single one of the guys do. He came in getting paid $11 million to be the deep ball guy. And I can't, to be honest with you, maybe on one hand, I can remember him running maybe 5 deep balls that we thrown the ball to him this year. That's crazy to me. The deep ball guy for us has been Justin Watson, of all people, okay? I said Justin Watson wasn't supposed to be that guy. He's not supposed to be your deep ball guy. That's MVS. That's why we're paying $11 million. Justin Watson's supposed to be the guy coming off the bench, relieving MVS for $11 million, okay? That's who he's supposed to be. But he happened to be the guy now. Well, you're going to get what you get with Justin Watson. And he's been playing phenomenal for us. He's been doing a good job. But you want a better caliber receiver. But Pat trusts him. And that's another thing. I think, maybe in practice, and this is very important to understand this, coaches, they see one thing. Fans, we see something totally different. We see the product on the field. The coaches are seeing the product develop at practice. And so in that development, it's just like if you're a scientist, okay, and you got this prototype and you've been working on it in the lab for a long time. And in the lab, it's been working. Well, you say, well, shoot, I got the pad. We ready to go and take this, right, to everybody. Well, then you finally get it out there. You have a big conference. You're going to do it like Steve Jobs and all of a sudden you come out there and guess what? It doesn't work. And you're like, daggone, how's this not working? Everything we did, and we ran all the tests, all the things we've done in practice, all the trials, everything has been perfect. When we get out here, we lay an egg. And that's kind of what's been happening with the Chiefs wide receivers.
Yeah.
Larry Kirksey said this. He said, these young guys, these young wide receivers, they don't do the little things. They don't practice on the little things anymore. They take their talent for granted. They think their talent is just going to be enough, and it isn't. When you have a guy like the Hall of Fame guys, we talk about Jerry Rice, we talk about a T.O., he said these guys were workers. He said they just worked at their craft all the time. Jerry was the first one at the field. He was the last one to leave. He said, I had to tell Jerry, stop and smell the roses, because Jerry worked all the time to be great. I played with another great one, Tony Gonzalez. You know what, Tony, his second year in the league, he probably led the league in drops. Matter of fact, he did. Tony said, for me not to have that type of year again, I had to change up what I did. And so what I would see when I got there to Kansas City, I would see a guy that would absolutely work relentlessly on his hands. I'm talking about every chance he got. When we were sitting down and the defense was going, Tony wasn't just taking a break, using his choppers to talk. He was on the sideline catching footballs. That's what he was doing the entire time. Every break that he got, he's catching footballs. You know why? Because he knows his hands he had to work on his hands all the time. That's why Tony Gonzalez was one of the best hand-catching tight ends, and really probably in the history of games, the guys having great hands. There's certain guys that I know that I watched over the years that have great hands. And one Larry Kirksey was talking about, that was Chris Carter. Chris Carter had tremendous hands. Well, Chris was just talented, but he worked on it all the time. Guess who learned a lot from him? Randy Moss. Okay. Randy learned a whole lot from Chris Carter. And Randy will tell you how he worked, how you approached the game, the things that you did. And so there's a formula to these things. I don't quite know if the wide receivers are doing that work. Are they putting in the tough time and the tough hours to become better? I don't know that. That's a question I think that we'll have to see at practice. We'll just have to see what's going on. I don't know. We don't get a lot of that. We just get like the whole lot of, hey, yeah, they're doing great. He's progressing, all those different things. I want to see it. That's what I want to see, okay? Because we see the product, and the product's not good to us.
Yeah. Then you look at this year, and we know, like I said, we've accepted that. And now we're looking into next season as to what Brett Veach has to do, which is obviously damn near overcorrected the wide receiver room. And I'm not just bringing this up just to talk wide receivers because, Jason, you played tight end in this league for a long time. You know how demanding and how taxing that position is on your body because you're not only an extension of the pass game, you're an extension of the offensive line. Yeah. And you were one of those classic tight ends, man, that you did all the dirty work so other people could stay clean. You and Kelce had different styles of football, you and Travis Kelce, but you both play the same position. And we're hearing rumors now at 34 years old that Travis Kelce is talking about, I'm 10 surgeries in. I've played a lot of football. I've been able to stay healthy for a lot of it. But, retirement is becoming a real thing. And you being a former player, I'm sure there was a time where retirement started to become something that was echoing within the halls of your mind. And once that starts to happen, that's when it becomes a real tangible thing for an athlete. I don't have to tell you that. You know this. And I've heard this echoed through many other athletes, former athletes as well, journalists, columnists as well, that talk to these athletes. So it's a real thing now. And I think this is coming a lot sooner than a lot of Chiefs fans expected, even though we know how old Travis Kelce is. We know the Father Time is undefeated. But I think a lot of people are still anticipating that Travis Kelce is going to have a Tony Gonzalez-esque career where he plays into year 16, 17, and beyond. And what I said to start the show today is, when it comes to the all-time tight ends, Tony Gonzalez and Travis Kelce are those two guys that everybody looks at now. I think those are the two best that have ever played this game when it comes to production. Right, and you said it perfectly about Tony Gonzalez and the transition of him becoming a guy that could end up having a good career to a guy that ended up having one of the greatest careers anybody's ever had in the history of the NFL at any position. And it was the determination to get better. And that's what Travis Kelce's done as well. He's had to grow up a lot over these years. And I said at the top of the show, the difference between Travis Kelce and Tony Gonzalez and the longevity factor is the fact that when Tony Gonzalez left Kansas City, he went to a team in Atlanta that had not one but two wide receiver ones in Roddy White and Julio Jones in the prime of their careers, and Michael Turner, who was getting 10 touchdowns a season out of the backfield. That makes it a lot easier for Tony Gonzalez to be able to utilize himself in his year 35, 36, 37. He's able to go out there and be productive because the defense isn't going to come crashing down on him every single week. He's able to go out there and play a little bit more in space and be able to withstand some of the less rigors of the game. The punishment isn't going to be on him as much. That's what the Chiefs need to do if they're in fact planning on keeping Travis Kelce here for the next 3 to 4 seasons, if in fact that's what he wants to do. Let's say that's what he wants to do. Brett Veach has a big task on his hands this offseason because I think this next offseason and what Brett Veach does at wide receiver is going to determine whether we get one more season out of Travis Kelce or 4 more seasons out of Travis Kelce, because I know he's dating a superstar, mogul, musical artist. I know that's an attractive thing for him to maybe go out and experience life in a different way where he doesn't need football anymore. But I see a guy that's still driven to be great. I see a guy that still wants to play football and win Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes and set records. That's what I see from Travis Kelce. I just don't see any help around him. So Brett Veach is going to have to really knock it out the park, whether it's in the draft, free agency, trades, or all three. It doesn't matter. He's got to get Travis Kelce more help if he wants to see Travis Kelce in this offense for the foreseeable future. What is your take on that, JD?
I believe, and I do know that we've done Travis Kelce a disservice. We've done him a disservice. And a lot of it is because of his brilliance in the game, because of the numbers he's put up, because of his athletic ability to be able to just destroy defenses. I think we've taken advantage of it. I think we've taken it for granted to just think this guy's going to keep playing at a high level for another 5 or 6 years. And what I do know is this: when guys start having little pains here, surgeries, little things start happening, those are the things that weigh on you in the NFL, okay? Especially like year 10 for Travis. Now, Tony got to 17. Tony was an absolute machine. And I'm telling you, that was one that Tony had that was probably better than anybody else. It's his durability. I only remember Tony missing one game, one. And I'm telling you, he had to shave like a little bit off his foot, and that sucker was back next week. I mean, he healed like Wolverine You know what I'm saying? And it's just some people just have, they just have that. And he was one of those guys. He was just fortunate to have, that type of body. His DNA, it was just in him. But couldn't get him tired. There's nothing you could do, just wear him down. I mean, he was just a big, strong body guy. Now, Travis, because he had to put the weight on his shoulders all the time, and he's catching, 110 balls, he got 1,000 yards. Great, right? He set a lot of records. He's getting a lot of volume of balls thrown his way. Now, teams are double and triple teaming Travis. They know he cannot beat us. We cannot let 8-7 be the one that beat us in the game. So what we're going to do, we're going to take him out of the game. Let's go beat him up. And so he's starting to feel that. You can see the frustration. When I see him blocking, the frustration he has, now he's tearing guys up. Well, a lot of that comes in where you see these guys in the mouth is the frustration not being able to catch the football and getting open, right? So if I'm running a triangle on him or doubling him up, hey, that's what that's what they're going to do. That's what defense are going to do. But I know for him, it's got to be wearing on him. And so, to be honest with you, like you said, if you're not getting guys around him to take some of that burden off, you're running him out of the NFL. That's what you're doing. And you had to look in the mirror. Britt Beach, hey, why keep asking the guy to keep, hey, I need for you to just have another 110 balls this year. I just need for you to have another 1,200 yards this year. Year in and year out. But you're not doing anything to help me. You're not doing anything to get guys around me. Yeah, you could go to the draft and get a guy, but dad got to spend a little money to get a guy in here to take some of that off of me. Did you think MBS was going to be the answer? Who his best year was like 42 when he was up in Green Bay? No, he don't catch a whole lot of footballs. And who else you have in here? You have Kadarius Toney, who's been known to be hurt. Okay, you bring him in, and so you was going to help develop him, right? That was going to be your project. You was going to hope he wouldn't get hurt. Keep him in a bubble, right? Plastic bubble. Make sure that joker don't get hurt. Who else you got around you? Now I'm just looking at draft picks. I don't see a veteran presence around me at all that can take that off of my shoulders. I don't see it. So now Patrick is sitting over here. He's pressing. Patrick's pressing, get the ball to me. And look, and these guys are professionals. They're going to do what they do. But I do believe we're doing Travis a disservice by not getting guys around it. That is a fact. Yep. Why he's getting hurt, missed the very first game of the season. We see how he's, he'll get off, he'll come off the sideline, and he's got like this, the shovel look, right? Where it's just I could feel him being more down. I'm telling you, Lance, when I'm watching him walk off, there's not that pop in it, right? You don't see that. Right. A lot of it's the disappointment, and he feels it because where it's been the second half of these guys, the offense is not where it should be. Well, you don't have a Tyreek Hill around you anymore to take that off of you. You don't have that. Like you said, Tony had Julio and Roddy around him. Shoot, he even had Douglas that was there in the slot. Like you said, Michael Turner. So he had a good offense. So that you couldn't double Tony up and down in Atlanta. Now you might try to. Well, then that's when you're going to get got, okay? Because he was still prolific when he was down there in Atlanta, still killing guys. But I just believe that, man, when you're talking about Travis Kelce and what he has to endure the past couple of years because you haven't really put people around him, you are running him out of the NFL, okay? I'm going to be the first one to say that. That's what you're doing to a guy. Not only you just burning him with the pain of it, but the mentality, the mental part of it, the mental strain. So if I'm sitting over here, Lance, and I'm looking at, dang God, I got to deal with this pain every day, or I can sit over here in the suite with Taylor Swift, watch my girlfriend go at it. Hey, get on the PJ, go to Argentina, Australia, Japan. Hey, which one's more would you rather do? Huh? What's more appealing to you, right? And the thing is, you got most of the records in the NFL. I mean, you've done things that other guys at the position have been able to do. So you could be good there. You could be good there, right? So I think, man, that Britt Beach and those guys have really done him a disservice. And I don't know if it's the arrogance. Maybe you could talk on this. Let's have a real conversation. Shoot. Okay.
Let's have it.
All right. I think because of the success that Britt Beach has had, that you get into this part of being a little bit arrogant, right? That you know better than everybody else, okay? Because the formula has been working. It's almost like the New England Patriots feel like they could take the Patriot way anywhere else and it's going to work, and we know it's failed miserably everywhere you've gone, okay? We are that team right now. Brett Veach is that guy at this moment who is smarter than everybody else, and everything has been working in his favor, okay? And, yeah, rightfully so. He's going to have some arrogance. He should, okay? Because he's been winning. He's been winning, right? We look at this young defense that he put together with the corners, right? And you know, people was torching the young corners last year. Was getting torched, you know, you included, right? You was, you know, hey, look. And I was sitting there thinking like, man, we just got to be patient with these guys. We just got to be patient. But you know who they had over there? They had a guy like Snead. They had some older guys around him. Tyron.
They just signed Justin Reed, a veteran.
Justin Reed. So you had guys that have been there before, okay? They helped them develop. And not only that, but you also had a coordinator that knew that these guys didn't know anything. They only know what they know. So here's a clean slate for me to teach them, okay? And Spags have been doing it for a long time in this league, having some of the greatest defenses. And so he's been developing those guys. So he knew I could take these guys and put the concentration, I could put my mold into these guys and make them what I want them to be. And they wouldn't have anything, you know, they wouldn't know any different. They wouldn't know how to be bad. All they would know is what I'm teaching them. Okay, you come from college, you only got a little bit of this. Now I'm giving you a master class on how to be a DB and how you work in this defense. If I'm a corner in the NFL, I would love to come play in this defense because you get to do everything.
Yeah,
you get to run man. If you're a dog at a corner, you would want to run man.
Yep.
Right? That's what you would want to do.
Blitzes.
Spags understands that with guys, and he's sitting there saying, "Look, I'm gonna let you be a dog. You want to run, you want to hunt. I'm gonna let you do it. You got that ability to come do it here." McDuffie, you can do that. You was running a lot of zone up there and watch, but guess what? Down here, I'm gonna let you be a dog. I'm gonna let you go hunt, do your thing. McDuffie is striving, okay, because he's playing free. And I'm sitting there. I know he's sitting there like, man, he's let me. I'm coming off the corner, the blitz, and do. Man, come on. Why wouldn't you want to do that? So go ahead. But that's what I wanted to talk about. I think the confidence of Brett Veach is one that we feel like he's brilliant, and sometimes. I'm like, he's weaving these things together, and maybe the wide receiver room hadn't become to fruition because he believes that these guys are okay. I just, you know, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all.
JD, I feel like you took my thoughts out of my own head, put them in yours, and articulated them a lot better than I ever could because I couldn't agree more than what you just said because this is what I've been trying to articulate to our viewing audience now for months. I told Trevor this, and I've said this on Twitter as well. I think that winning the Super Bowl last season the way the Chiefs did was both the best and worst thing that could have happened. What I mean by that is obviously winning the Super Bowl is the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
But it also, the way they did it when Patrick Mahomes just willed them on the offensive side of things and just made the most of it with one leg, I think it built this mindset of justification for Brett Veach to not take the wide receiver room as seriously. Because I think if the Chiefs would have lost the Super Bowl, or let's say they fell short again in the AFC Championship and had all those injuries to the wide receivers and things like that, Brett Veach would have overcorrected and got DeAndre Hopkins or gotten a Mike Evans or somebody like that to really establish a reliable offense. Because to your point that you just made, which was perfect. When we talked, because you and I was on your guys' post-game show last season after that Bills game. Yeah. In the regular season, I was pissed off because Spags had Joshua Williams one-on-one with Stephon Diggs, and Josh Allen threw it over the top. That was a deciding play in that game. And you said, Lance, you have to understand they got to galvanize these guys. They have to learn through these things. And to your point, what you just said was 100% correct because that obviously was true. But it wasn't just on Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson all season. They had, like you said, L'Jarius Sneed, a 4-year veteran at that point. They had Justin Reed behind them, a 4-year NFL safety, guys that were established in this league. And furthermore, they had a first-round pick in Trent McDuffie to be basically the successor of whoever he was going to take over for in the coming years, and has become maybe the best corner in the league. The Chiefs have not only not gotten a first-round wide receiver on the other side, they didn't go and get a single guy that's a difference maker, and therefore you can't say that, oh, it'll work out just like they did in the cornerbacks room, because you didn't establish it the same way. That's why we give Brett Veach the praise that we give him on the cornerback side of things, because he established it the correct way. Going getting young guys out of the late rounds of the draft, you find those nuggets, those guys that can develop into becoming difference makers, which they have been, but you also go and get sure things. And that is why the defense is what it is, because you went and you got resources. You threw resources from wide receiver, from free agency, the draft, trades, all together, and culminated a nasty bunch. You didn't do that at wide receiver. I understand the cap is what the cap is, but the Chiefs had more than enough money to go and get a guy at a low market value that could become a difference maker. They just did that with Juju Smith-Schuster, who was making less than $5, $6, $7 million last season, and was that ultimate difference maker, because when you have that one guy, guys like MVS, Justin Watson, and guys like that go down one peg and all of a sudden play their role at a decent level, because MVS wasn't bad last season. He had like 630 yards and a couple of touchdowns. That's a decent wide receiver 3. He's not a decent wide receiver 2, and sure as hell a decent wide receiver 1, and that is why you're seeing the offense struggle the way they are. So I couldn't agree more, Trevor. I don't know if you have additional thoughts on that or not, but that is exactly where I stand on, because of the fact that you didn't establish these rooms the same way. You got to be cheap somewhere, because NFL rooms are expensive, especially when you have a $500 million quarterback. But when you're not utilizing the same principles on the areas that you are cheap at, you're going to see glaring differences in how they're playing, and that is exactly what we're seeing right now, man.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Beautiful. That's a beautiful point. That's exactly what's going on. See, because the crazy part is, I see guys that I was, we do the mock drafts. And of course, when the drafts come up, I was naming some guys we should have got later on in the round, right? That would have fit our scheme. And I was sitting there saying, well, Romeo Dobbs, he's a hell of a wide receiver, right? He's eating up there in Green Bay.
Yep.
I mean, imagine what he could have been doing here in this offense, right?
Right.
Another with Khalil Shakur, right there with Buffalo, all right? Diggs and, obviously, they're going to get the meat of it. But how he comes in and plays, he could have been he's a 5th-round pick. But like you said, and here's the thing, wide receiver and corners are two totally different positions, okay? The way that you develop them. Corners, if you can run, if you got good hips, that's the evaluation. We need to know if you can play man, if you can get out of the break, all those different things, right? It's not as difficult. You just got to be an athlete, okay?
Right.
It's got to be more of it. We're just going to teach you, like, the integral parts of it, So playing DB is not that as difficult as playing wide receiver. Wide receiver, because you have this myriad of routes that you got to run, you might have to run 15, 20 different routes, okay? Right. Now you got to learn the terminology. Terminology is totally different, okay? And so, the capacity to get all these things in and play in that position and understand exactly the nuances and how you play is completely different than it is on defense. But like you said, he was able to get guys and develop those guys later on. Like you said, two totally different mindsets of how you're attacking this thing. But I definitely, without a doubt, I think Brett Veach was like, "Nah, you know what? We're gonna be good. We're good. Patrick got us out of it last year. We got Travis. We're gonna be fine. We can plug anybody in. We can plug anybody. We're gonna be fine." That's the thought process, and we see it. That's exactly the thought process is now. We gonna fine. We gonna be all right. And look, I will say this, because I'm one. I'm one of that's optimistic in this kingdom. I am. Okay, and the reason I'm optimistic is because I played the game before. I know what it means to be in that locker room when all the chips are against you. The crowd is against you. You've been playing, absolutely shitty. The things that you have to do is you got to just look at the guys in the room, and the guys in the room just say they only have to be the ones that say, "Look, we got your back, man. We understand these things don't happen. Things are going to go wrong, but we got your back. We all going to go to work, okay? You go down, we all go down." And I look at it, it's the same thing McCole Hardman when he dropped that punt, okay? And he was sitting on the sideline, he threw the coat over his head, and all that. The guy was like, "Man, get out of there. Get out of the tank. It ain't time for you to go in the tank right now. We still need you. And so I do believe we still need MVS, okay? As bad as he's been playing, Okay, even Sky Moore and all those guys, as bad as they've been playing, we still need these guys.
Yep.
All right. Nobody's coming to save us. All right. Newsflash. Nobody's coming to save us. The only one that's going to be able to do that and take care of it was those guys in the room. Period and point blank. All right. We got what we got. And I've said this. From this point on, it's all about those guys in that room getting better. All right. But you do have to say that I agree with you 100% on this, Lance. Heck, run the daggone football. Heck, you got somebody who is over here eating. Okay. We could feed him 20 times a game, and that sucker's going to get his yards.
Wow.
All right. We do have a young guy in Rashid Rice who should get more catches, more passes thrown his way. We got a guy in Kadarius Toney, all right, who's starting to, pop off, right? He was hurt a little bit, now getting more involved in the game. He can catch every little thing. We know he's very athletic, do things. McCole Hardman hurt his thumb, right? As soon as that little thumb's well, we need to get him involved. He was eating before he left and got hurt, okay? And everybody forgets about that. And I think he has something to give to the Chiefs as well. But if MVS is not doing the job, okay, and this is a performance-based business, then he's got to take a back seat, man. It's just part of it. You just move down the chart. I don't care how much you could be making $20 million this year. If you ain't getting it done, we can't keep putting you out there if you're not gonna get the job done. All right, you got to earn your way back. That's just how it works. So whatever you need to do to figure this out, you better figure it out quick and fast, because not we leaving you behind. All right. We leave you behind. But everybody don't want, look, nobody wants to be wrong on an investment, right? None of us do, okay? Whether it be, our significant others, okay, or making a bet or something. Nobody wants to be wrong on that bet we make,
right?
The girl that we choose, we want her to be the queen. We want her to be the one. Like, oh, man, I got one, right? And then you come find out, like, oh, my gosh, I did this. But you tell your boy she's the greatest thing ever. I mean, that's wifey right there. Really? The next thing you know, behind closed doors, she's hitting you in the back of your head and cussing you out, and you live in misery. Okay, but it looks good. It looks good.
Yeah, so you got more red flags than a Chinese embassy. You know what I mean?
Damn.
Exactly. It's just showing itself. It's beep, beep, beep. It's coming off. Yeah. But man, I think it's where we are right now. I do. A lot of it is because we won the Super Bowl, and we feel like we the walk of the town, right? We're the cock of the town, man, just walking around. So it's showing us we might have made a mistake. They ain't gonna say that, right? Nobody likes to admit they made a mistake. So they're gonna stay hedged on their bet. That's what they're gonna do. Brett Veach, Andy Reid, they're gonna be hedged on their bets, knowing we're gonna stay with it. We gotta stick with it. So here we are.
Here we are. And that's correct. And it's going to come down to me. And to my opinion, it's going to come down to what coaching schemes Andy's going to go with. Is he willing to get out of his own head, out of his own stubbornness, and draw up plays that are going to be building this team up for success? Because this isn't yesteryear. This isn't 2018, 2019, 20, or 2021. This is an offense that is predicated on limited skill at wide receiver, a great but aging tight end, a running back that's ready to run into a wall and blow through that wall, whether it's granite or it's paper mache. It doesn't matter what style it is. He wants to run through that wall. And you have Patrick Mahomes, who's putting the ball in the right place at the right time. He just needs guys that are going to be able to go out there and get the ball. That's what it's going to come down to, whether Andy wants to set up his offense for success or not. My final question to you, though, JD, and you've given us incredible content as always, bro. That's why I love it whenever you come on here, bro. And this is why I love listening to your show. And this is why you have the best show, because you give it from a perspective of not only just a player's perspective, which is always valuable, but you give it from an honest perspective. You don't sit here and pom-pom for the team that you used to play for. There are plenty of guys that do that. You don't do that, and that's why we appreciate your authenticity here at all times, my friend. And that echoes through your whole lifestyle too, man. That's why I respect you endlessly. But I want to get your thoughts on this matchup because, yes, the Chiefs are the better team between them and the Raiders. The Raiders are without Max Crosby. The Raiders have a quarterback that's playing in this game that probably won't be in the league for very long. That's just all facts here. But this is a game the Chiefs have to take seriously. And I think that this game, Trevor and I gave our key players. Trevor, who are your key players, if you remember correctly?
Well, we just got an update that Kadarius Toney is now out.
Okay.
McCole is now on the IR. So
lovely.
Two updates there. Yeah, so we just got those updates that just came through. My guy was Kadarius Toney because I felt like with McCole and McKinnon being out, I felt like he was in a great spot to have some production here. Finally, that he's healthy, but now he's apparently dealing with a hip and a foot. So that's just continuing to be an issue with Kadarius. But my guys were Kadarius, and the running game. I think this has to be a Pacheco game, especially with these guys out now too. Run the damn ball. I feel like that should be the narrative heading into this week. So my guy was 𝚂𝙿𝙸 on the defensive side. I want to see him have a solid game. I think this is a good opportunity against a so offensive line and a rookie quarterback. I feel like he can go make some plays, specifically against the run, because the Raiders are going to want to run the ball, and I think he could be a guy that helps stop that. So us running the ball and us stopping the ball, and 𝚂𝙿𝙸 I think should be a part of that. So those are my guys.
And the key players I had in this matchup is, it's a little different. Charles 𝚂𝙗, I think, is going to put his imprint in this game. I think that you look at Aidan O'Connell. He's been sacked 12 times and has thrown 6 interceptions and only 5 starts. I think that Charles 𝚂𝙗, because of Chris Jones getting so much attention from this offensive line, he's going to put his mark on this game. I think he's going to get a couple sacks in this one. He's going to wreck shop in this one. And on the offensive side, it's a guy we did talk about earlier when it comes to the offensive line, is Juwan Taylor. Max Crosby's not out, so this offensive line should have a great game this week. But I want to see him go out there and have a clean game. I know that he has been set up for failure by the officiating. Been some terrible officiating, especially earlier in the season. But I think Juwan Taylor has done himself a disservice here and there, also by not adjusting to some of it. I want to see Juwan Taylor go out there and protect Patrick, not his blind side, obviously, but give Patrick some trust. Donovan Smith give him some trust where Patrick feels comfortable in the pocket to deliver the ball where he needs to. Those are the 2 key players in this game. JD, how do you see this game going? Do you have some key players in this one? What do you think is going to happen in this matchup on Sunday?
I believe the linebackers and D-line has to be phenomenal this game. Okay, they're going to have to be. And 𝚂𝙗𝙀, man, I'm a huge fan of 𝚂𝙗𝙀, man. He's been absolutely killing it. He's been killing it out there. And Willie Gay too. And I like Drew Trample. Drew Trample. Now this because he's a smaller kind of frame guy. This is what's going to be a challenge for him. Playing the Mike linebacker. The guys up front have to do a great job to keep those guys off of him. He can't let the D-line or the offensive line climb to the second level. So our linebackers, our D-line has to play stellar. And look, same thing. Chris Jones can't be our only guy on the interior that's getting penetration and making a difference.
Right.
He can't. He can't just be that guy. So we need more out of Nandi. We need more out of Warrington. We need more out of those guys. I usually don't name guys, but I'm going to name them. Okay? Yeah. We need more out of those dudes, period, point blank. Look, and that's another position I think that we should have been like, hey, man, we need to start looking at this as well, okay? We need to start looking at this as well. Who's going to be the heir apparent to Chris Jones if you don't want to pay him? Right? Okay? First week, everything looked good because Chris went out there. We had a matchup with a good offensive line with the Detroit, but hey, we made it work. Charles 𝚂𝙗𝙀, who might be that difference maker. I'm right there with you. I need Charles to show up a little bit more. I didn't really see him the last game as much. He didn't hear his name that much at all. Same thing with George. Kalafis got to come out there. Like you said, he didn't sack a lot of times. Now he needs to make his presence felt here. But we understand this because you won't get Josh Jacobs going. That's the thing about it. If Josh Jacobs get going, it's going to be a long, long game for us. Long, long game. But it will start opening up the pass. We know they got dogs on the outside. Jacoby Myers, Devontae Adams, Renfro starting to show up. So, Mayer,
Michael
Mayer. Yeah. So they got some guys to throw to. And that's what what he's good at is staying in the pocket. He's a pocket guy and throwing the football. That's why they like it. So we got to create pressure. We got to do some things to make sure he don't get that ball out of his hand real quick. And I think Spags, if he dials up some pressures early, that'll throw him off for the rest of the game. Okay, so stop the run. All right, get some pressure, get some sacks. That way you can create the whole passing game. Offensively, like you said, look, Isaiah Pacheco's got to be the guy. He has to be the guy in this game. All right, we got to lean on him more than what we've leaned on him before. I like 12 personnel. I think this is a game Noah Gray could come in and actually, make some noise. I really do. I know we went 13 personnel. It's not as good. 12 personnel is a lot better. Noah Gray does a much better job of blocking and going out and catching passes. I think he's doing a good job at that position. Wide receiver wise, I don't know Kadarius Toney, so he's man.
I know.
Hey man, look, we got what we got, right? They said James is supposed to be coming back, so I hope he comes back. Because he can catch the football, and I think we need to get him involved as well. I think, to be honest, when I watched him when he was coming in, I started watching film on him. He actually runs pretty good routes.
Yeah.
He's up in San Fran in New York. he's a much better polished route runner than most guys that we have on the wide receiver position. That's a true story.
I think that's fair at this point for sure.
Sad truth, but yes.
Yeah. So the thing is, he might come in and give us something, but we need to see a little bit more of that. I'm gonna bring a name, man, and I know y'all gonna get on me for this. Y'all gonna get on me. With Jared McKinnon being out, I want to see CH have a game.
Hey, that's my guy. I'm with you.
Okay. You want to see that? Yeah. Hey, CH, I think the last game he was able to get in, give us a little change of pace. He might be a guy that we, maybe give him, 5 or 6 looks. You know what I'm saying? But I think we got to rely on our running backs. I do. This will be a game, like you said, old school running backs controlling the game. This will be perfect for us.
Yeah, Clyde had a roster spot for a reason. You might as well use him in a game. You're out Jerick McKinnon. If they don't play the same style, but if you're going to establish the run game this week, by all means, run Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Right.
Yes. So I just I've always I'm like, you got to give him something. At least give him something. McKinnon out like this is to give him an opportunity to do it. But other than that, man, I think. And look, I don't know if y'all heard me before, but man, what I've been absolutely upset with is our return game.
Yeah.
Our special teams, man. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I've given us a D and an F all year in our special teams. I don't think they've done enough. The return game now, hell, even now, Townsend ain't even kicking the ball like he used to.
I know.
Yeah.
He's like Shanks McGee. I'm like, what the heck? Like, what's going on with this? So the special teams, man, is another key part of what we do, what we should be doing to give, field position, get some return game back.
Yep.
And we're not doing it. And I tell you what, man, that's another evaluation this offseason. We need to start thinking about, heavy on. So I don't like what's going on in that room.
Kadarius was looking good, but now he's out. So he was promising last week. He looked good on the returns last week, but now he's out. So
and now that him and McColl are out, I petition this, JD, and I don't know what you think about this. How about you just let the damn ball bounce every time and just fair catch it from here on out, because there's nobody else that I trust. Like McColl, I trust him with the punt return. I trust Kadarius Toney with the punt return. His greatest play as a Chief was in the Super Bowl at a punt return. So I now that both those dudes are down, I would rather them just not even mess with it. And with Dave Tobe, for whatever reason, not getting in his guys about not inbounding the ball behind the 10-yard line, man. Like I'm with you. The frustrations are immense.
They did elevate wide receiver Montreal Washington, so
he's back.
He'll be back there returning probably. He looked decent, but yeah.
Yeah. But they got to give him a chance. Give him a chance.
Right.
Yeah.
It goes into the blocking game. And what I see is that they guys up, and who's ever holding up the gunner is doing a terrible job. Joshua Williams. I'm sorry, but terrible job out there, man. I'm just, and and that kind of shows why guys are not getting opportunities to go out there and play. And sometimes it's your effort. Coaches see that.
Of course, yeah.
So you want to play? I tell you what, I'm gonna give you a task and assignment to do, and you don't do it. No, I can't put you in, partner. Can't happen. Not gonna play.
Yeah, how you do anything is how you do everything, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ooh, there you go. That's right.
That's the truth. That's a proverb right there.
You're welcome.
Right there.
JD, do you have a score prediction on this one, or have you guys already done that yet? Because I don't want to impede on your guys' prediction show.
No, we didn't put a prediction up, but I'll give you one. So I got us going 28-14 is what the score's going to be. 28-14.
I like that. So the Chiefs will cover 10-point road favorites is a hefty number, but I do think with the matchup, Chiefs pissed off, motivated after a loss that they should not have lost to the Eagles in front of 30 million onlookers is definitely something that they need to bring to this game and deliver on the offensive side. I think we all will feel better, not that we think that the offense will be fixed, but if they go in there and they put on a good show offensively, and it isn't just that they have to go in there and score 40 points. If they score 27, 28 points and it looks good, it looks fluid at times, I think we'll live with that and we'll feel good about it going on to the final stretch of the season, because to that point, the Chiefs have quite a few divisional games left. They still have another game after this with the Raiders, another game with the Chargers. They have the Bills. They have the Bronco or the Bengals. They have some games left that they need to win. I do believe that they're going to get that 1 seed because if you compare their schedule to the Ravens and the Dolphins, who are ahead of them currently, I think the Chiefs will get that 1 seed. I think they will have it, but they can't squander anymore, man. They cannot allow any of these teams to hang around like the Eagles did, because if they do that, this season could blow up abruptly in a way that we did not envision this season, and that's going to raise a lot more questions going into this offseason. Let's hope it goes the way that we're all hoping it will. They take care of business against the Raiders, get back on track, get back towards that 1 seed, and go win another damn Super Bowl, man. That's what we want to see, and that's why we have you on this show, man, because you're the one that, like I said, knows from a perspective of the players and what it takes to be great at this game, and you're great at everything you do, brother, and we cannot thank you enough to be on the show. You guys can follow our guy Jason Dunn on Twitter, or X as you like to call it, at JASUS tight end TD89. Always he's one of the people out there, man, that replies to everybody. He's a gracious human being. He's a humble human being. He loves everybody with a big old heart that he's got. And he has a great show, Chief Concerns. You can follow him on Twitter as well at Concerns Chief. Him and Marcus 𝚂𝙸, they all do incredible work. My favorite show in the world. And if you have any other parting comments you'd like to have, JD, the floor is yours, because you're one of the people that we respect the most, so we always let you have the last say, my man.
Well, brother, look, I appreciate that so much. I'm so grateful, to have you as a friend, you and Trev, man, y'all do a great job, and I look at your stuff all the time. I'm always watching your stuff anyway, and there's, you check your boys out to see what they're going on. And I think you get a lot of maybe some hate that people bring in, but to me, it seems very balanced what you say. I think, I don't think anything you're saying is too crazy at all. I don't. Matter of fact,
they're low key fans, man. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, that's why they keep showing up, right? They keep showing up, right? They love seeing it. But I do believe, man, you got a great perspective on this team, and you do a great job, tremendous job. And look, I love you. When I get out there to Kansas City next couple of weeks, I'm gonna holler at you. All right, we still haven't did the Mac Place, but maybe we have to do the Mac Place somewhere when I get out there. But we had some macaroni and cheese during Thanksgiving, right? And I had 2 scoops of it.
2 scoops. Go. No joke.
Man, progress.
My man Lance. That's my man Lance. I'm gonna try this mac and cheese. I'm gonna get on this sucker right now. I'm gonna test it out and see. And it was actually pretty good.
Yeah. I'm proud of you, man. I'm really proud of you right now, Jason.
But it was on the backside of my plate, so I just want to make sure
Well, when you're back in town, man, macaroni's on me, bro. The macaroni and cheese on me. Trevor will pay for the cheese. I'll pay for the macaroni. Okay. But either way, dude, I'm looking forward to, hey, you let me know. You know us, dude. Whenever you're in town, you let us know. We'll meet up and we'll hang out. We'll have a good old time, get a couple stogies or something, have a good old time. The point is, bro, we just, like I said, your time is, we can't thank you enough for this, brother. And we know that the viewing audience, the listening audience, the people that listen to the podcast afterward throughout the week, we always get messages about, oh, JD was on this week. They love it every time you're on, bro. So anytime we can get you on, anytime we get Marcus on, we just love you guys to death and we appreciate you guys. Keep killing it. Your guys' show is great, bro. You know this. I don't have to tell you that. We aspire to be just like you guys, man, and the community that we have, bro. It's priceless. So again, thank you so much for the kind words, and we echo the sentiments back to your guys' way. And whenever you have time, brother, let us know when you're in town. We'll definitely hang out and we'll make something of it.
Sounds good, man. Had a great time with y'all fellas, man. Love y'all guys. Y'all take
Love
it
you,
easy.
bro. Love you. Thank you so much, Jason.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's our guy Jason Dunn from the Chief Concerns podcast. Like I said, they do incredible work. I know you guys already know who they are. I don't have to tell you. I mean, half of our viewing, listening audience comes from their show. The other half comes from All Chiefed Up. So we know that you guys are familiarized with them and familiarized with what they do work-wise. Just like I said, man, if you're not following Jason already on Twitter, he gives you guys balanced takes. He replies to you too. So if you want to get perspective from an NFL player or former NFL player, JD is the guy to go to because he's one of those dudes that will not, thumb his nose at you or make it feel like you're not, important enough or for it's a dumb question. He'll answer your question as well as he can. I don't know if you got that or not, but that's the guy you want to go to. That's why I respect him endlessly. He's been such a good friend to us for years now, and very lucky because Trevor and I grew up watching Jason Dunn play football, and he was always one of my favorite Chiefs because the dude he was whooping everybody's ass out there, just throwing dudes around. I always respected him for what he did. I'm back. Actually, remember ESPN 2K5? Mm-hmm. I remember. I wish I'd have said this when Jason was on still, but I remember when I used to run the franchise with the Chiefs, I would always get Jason Dunn like big time numbers because I always felt like it wasn't fair that Tony got all the numbers, so I always like spread it out. Like him and Jason Dunn would get like turns getting touchdowns. I remember those days. It was good. By the way, that was the best sports game ever. ESPN 2K5. I wish they would bring back that style because Madden sucks. Awesome, but again, love you, Jason. Thank you so much, brother. We really do appreciate your time. We need to get to the people, Trevor. We got some chats, so let's go ahead and get some highlighted questions. Yep. I trust that you know which ones to go to and get to because I know there's a lot of people that have been waiting in the chat. So let's go ahead and get to some questions. Let's get to speaking.
Yeah, I highlighted some questions and some comments. I'll start from the top here from our guy Brent on YouTube. No one talks about Juwan's run blocking because it's not good. He hasn't lived up to what he's been paid. I just kind of reverting back to our conversation a little bit when we were touching on the O-line about Juwan not being the best pass blocker, but Brent wanted to bring up the fact that he's also struggled, in run blocking when the ball has been ran towards his end of the line, he has been subpar. I haven't paid too much attention to his run blocking, if I'm being honest. Probably because we don't run the ball very much, so it's hard to get a big sample size of that. But I feel like our offensive line has done well when we do run the ball. Especially last week, I felt like we played really well when we were run blocking. We were winning a lot of those battles in the trenches. But as far as his individual performances, I can't really say. I haven't really paid too much attention to how if he's winning his battles, he's winning up front when we run the ball towards his end or his blocking when he reverts back to the middle to maybe open up something. But pass pro hasn't been the best on his end, I will say that. But as far as Brent goes, Brent has not been impressed with his run blocking either. So I
don't know how you can be impressed by anything Jawaan Taylor's done to this point of the season. And look, I don't want to sound overly critical on Jawaan Taylor, but again, guys, like we talk about Eric Fisher, the reason why we viewed him the way we did is because the man was the first overall pick in the draft in 2013. Yeah. So he wasn't just some run-of-the-mill left tackle that the Chiefs signed. That's why Donovan Smith has low expectations to a lot of people because this guy was a free agent the Chiefs signed in late March. Yeah. And yes, he came from a Buccaneers team that won the Super Bowl. He was the starting left tackle there, so there were expectations. But you notice that there aren't people that are clamoring as much about it, even though he plays the more important tackle position, because Jawaan Taylor was brought in here to be an immediate difference maker. Yeah. Donovan Smith's over there being a Band-Aid. Right. Jawaan Taylor's viewed as a long-term answer at right tackle. So anything that people want to critique him on, to me, is fair game. Sure. Because if he's not living up to the contract, then now it's one thing if Jawaan Taylor was balling. Yeah. And people are like, I don't know, man, that contract kind of sucked. I'm like, well, the man's living up to it. I would defend him on that because look at Joe Thuney. Plays guard, and that's not a position you usually like to spend a lot of money on. Well, the Chiefs broke the record at spending at guard on Joe Thuney. But how many people bitch about Joe Thuney? Yeah. Literally zero. You know why? Because the man's badass at his job and is going to be a Hall of Fame player. So that's why we don't sit here and talk about Joe Thuney's contract, because the man's lived up to it. That's the difference.
Since day one, too. Yes. I mean, the guy's been incredible. He's even filled in at left tackle.
We don't even talk about Joe Thuney. Right. Because he's so good. It's just like, yeah, he does his job.
Yeah, he's the most crucial part of this offensive line for sure. John Harrison. Mahomes' pick was early. This is talking about the game last week against the Eagles. Mahomes' pick was early, but Kelsey's fumble was at the 13-minute left in the fourth. It was 17-14. That was a crucial time in that game for a red zone turnover.
I don't disagree. Yeah. You're right. It's not. I don't want to downplay the severity of the turnover.
On the fact that that's something that doesn't happen. Exactly. Kelsey doesn't do that.
That's
out of character.
That's my point right there. Is that for every turnover that Travis Kelce commits, he catches 8 touchdowns. Right. Like, I'm not going to sit here
and expect him to have 4 touchdowns against the Raiders. He's done it before.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, honestly, though, what do you think is more likely, Trevor? That Travis Kelce has another fumble against the Raiders or a touchdown? Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know that this man's going to show up and show out more times than not, so I'm not going to hold that over his head, especially when you still had multiple chances to win the game and guys squandered those opportunities when there are guys that are asked to do far less than Travis Kelce. MVS is not asked to do anything close to what Travis Kelce has to do.
Right.
And he has been a detriment to this offense, so it's even more amplified in my mind when guys like Justin Watson and MVS have late-game drops on key plays more than Travis Kelce. Because Travis Kelce's been the sole reason why this offense has even had a pass game this year. He's the sole reason. Rashee Rice, imagine Rashee Rice in this offense without Travis Kelce. Good fucking luck. The kid ain't getting open.
Right.
So that's the whole reason I'm trying to say that MVS and guys like that who are actually making real money as veterans need to go out there and make a catch that literally falls into their damn hands. Travis Kelce made a mistake. What MVS did is inexcusable.
It was a great defensive play, too. Man.
Yeah, they punched the shit out of the ball.
It was a perfect punch out.
Roby? Was it Roby that punched the ball?
Yeah. It was perfect. I mean, it was timed perfectly. It was just one of those bang plays, and he was trying to get extra yardage. And I mean, that's just a great player making a great. That's another great player making a play on a great player. That's football, man. And it sucks that it was the worst timing possible. But Travis Kelce, like you said, I mean, that's the very highly unlikely situation that happens, and it's not going to happen probably for the next 18 to 20 games for Travis Kelce.
The Chiefs still have the lead in that moment.
Yeah.
People forget that.
That's why it was so costly, too, because we were going to go up big.
Right, but I'm saying is the Chiefs weren't losing that game because of that, because they weren't losing the game at that moment.
Sure.
My point is
we
that
weren't losing the entire game until that last.
There's a minute and a half left, and MVS has the ball hits him in the hands. The Chiefs would have been up 3 points.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Brian Parrott, how much longer do we continue to shortchange Mahomes in his prime years and expect him to make up the difference?
Hopefully,
we get this question every week this year.
Hopefully, not another one. Yeah. Hopefully, this is the only season that we sit here and look at that. Now, how big of a story would that be? And see, this is the thing we have to pay attention to, because if the Chiefs do win another Super Bowl with the wide receiver room they have, who's to say Brett Veach feels the pressure to go and get a wide receiver? Think about it. Like if it works. And yes, it looks like shit, he probably still goes and gets a guy, but the level of the player he goes after might be different.
Yeah.
He might go after more of a Juju type. Now, I won't complain if they just go get a reliable wide receiver, but I do think it's been shown time and time again this season that they need to correct the room, not just go get a guy. That was my take to start the season. We just need one guy. And that might still be true for this season, but moving forward, you can't expect this room from one year to the next to get better. There's no proof of that.
Yeah.
So they need to go and get a better room. They need to go and get a free agent. They need to go trade for a guy. They need to go draft another guy. Like, there needs to be aggressive, because I've been the guy that's always said, Trevor, draft defense, pay for offense.
Sure.
I still will go into the 2024 offseason feeling that way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I find out the Chiefs are saying, hey, we're going tackle and we're going wide receiver first in the draft, I'm not going to complain about that.
I don't know, man.
Because the defense,
especially with the talent at receiver this draft.
Yeah, because the defense is established.
Yeah.
And they have a young defense, and an inexpensive defense outside of Chris Jones, who may not even be here next year.
It's established, but we are going to likely lose a couple pieces this offseason.
Right, yeah, but I'm saying the key cornerstones are there for the most part, outside of a couple pieces that they can fix.
Yeah, depending on what we do with Chris Jones as well. There's a lot. I think there's going to be actually a lot more moving pieces than me. I'd like to admit.
That's fair.
Coming off season.
That is fair.
And if we do hold on to Chris Jones, are we going to spend up and trying to find another free agent receiver? There's a lot of questions heading into this offseason, man, especially if we underperform in the postseason this year.
And real quick, just as a side note about Chris Jones, he's going to have to be realistic this offseason too, because he'll be 30 years old. Yeah. There ain't going to be a team out there that's going to give him $30 million a year. No. So if he's willing to take, I
felt that way about this season. He was 20.
Yeah, if he's willing to take 23 to 25 a year, I do think the Chiefs would give that to him for a 3-year deal.
Yeah,
I do, and I don't know if any other team would do that while also giving him an opportunity to win more Super Bowls.
Right. Our guy Shaggy Shane, we had a former Chiefs/Raider running back Harvey Williams on our show this week, and he still believes the Chiefs will overcome this recent slump and eventually go to the Super Bowl and play the 49ers.
Yeah, I gave my take on this one. You were busy for a second. You can go ahead and give your take on that one.
I mean, I initially had Chiefs Cowboys, but the 49ers, man, when they're healthy, I think they might be the best team in football. I mean, on both sides but I will say this. They've lost Farminga. They lost some guys. I mean, they're a team that tends to fall apart at the worst timing. So for the 49ers to get there, a lot of things got to go their way as far as health. I don't doubt their coach. I think they have one of the best coaches in football. I think they have one of the best stories at quarterback. I think they have the most talented offensive room when they're all healthy. I mean, they have the best running back in football. A lot of things are working in the Niners' favor. But as far as the Chiefs overcoming the slump, this isn't a slump, man.
Right.
This is what the Chiefs are this year. I'm not calling this a slump, and I no offense to Harvey Williams, no offense to Shaggy, no offense to anyone who has this take that the Chiefs are just going to get out of this rut. This isn't a rut. This is an identity. This is an identity of who the Chiefs are. And are we going to have games where the receivers look good? Sure. But there's also going to be just a massive inconsistency this year, and that's what it's been.
Yep.
We had a big blow-up game against the Browns or against the Bears. That was fun. We enjoyed that. We possibly thought that was a get-right game for the offense, and then they've reverted right back to what we've been all year. A really good defensive team that doesn't score a lot of points offensively. Unless things are breaking our way or we get a defensive touchdown. Because outside of some defensive touchdowns, we've been a low-scoring offense all year, which is very disturbing and very just not fun as a Chiefs fan because we're so used to the electric offense. But I do believe this team can still go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. And if we do meet the Niners in the Super Bowl, money's on the Chiefs, of course, because I trust us. I trust what we do. I trust this defense to go get any quarterback, any star receiver, the beats, because that's what we've done all year long.
Yeah, can I add to that? What's weird is that the 49ers are one of the best teams in the NFL, but for some weird reason, I would actually feel okay with this, even with the offense struggling the way they do against the 49ers.
Sure.
Because for some weird reason, Patrick Mahomes he loves playing against the 49ers. You saw what he did last season against them, and I know it's different, obviously, because they had Juju and everything, but I could still see the Chiefs scoring 21 points of offense.
It was the
in that
McColl
game.
show. I mean, McColl of all people is the one that destroyed them.
Well, that sucks. He's on the IR, but maybe he'll be back probably for the playoffs.
He should be back probably a couple weeks before the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, we got 7 games left, so I mean, or 6, 7 games left. So I mean, he should be back before the playoffs. I just hope he gets that thumb right, man, because we're going to need that guy. We're going to need his experience in the postseason because he's been a solid postseason player. So, and getting Kadarius right too. I mean, obviously they're taking it very slow with this kid, but man, another hip and foot. It's like, damn. That's frustrating to me as a guy who's been really touting him and ready for him to have that big year, but it's just likely not going to happen at this point. Our guy Brent on YouTube, it's kind of scary that the biggest game this season, Pat kept going to Watson. That's the only wide receiver besides Rice that he actually trusts.
Yeah.
I mean, 11 targets is more than that's elite. That's an elite target share for a wide receiver 4 or 5.
I said,
a guy that couldn't even get 5 targets a week with Tom Brady when he was a wide receiver 2, 3 over there.
I said, the only guys last week that had that many targets was Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then who was the other one?
Was it? I think it was. CeeDee Lamb.
Maybe it was CeeDee Lamb, and then it was Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
You guys notice the who sticks out in that bunch?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no excuse for it. And again, this also comes down to play calling as well from Andy Reid's side of things. Is you can't run the offense the same way you did when you had an elite superstar wide receiver in Tyreek Hill in this offense 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's the problem. The play calling hasn't changed, and yet we're not getting the production that we have from the play calling when we had guys that executed those plays properly. That's the issue. We have guys that just don't have those skill sets. Plain and simple. At the end of the day, these guys are not Tyreek. These guys are not Juju.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I don't know, man. I mean, we got a guy whose specialty is running the deep route and catching the deep balls, and he can't even do that. You know what I mean? So there's problems all the way around, but I'm not doom and gloom. I am a guy that, if Watson is going to get, 10 targets a game, he better produce. He better not be dropping 3 of those 10 to 11 targets. You know what I mean? That can't happen. So if he's going to be catching those 9 to 10 to 11 targets and gets a touchdown every week, I'm cool with that. If that's the guy that Pat trusts and he's going to go to him in the moments we need to move the sticks or get a touchdown in the red zone, I'm cool with that because that's what it looked like last week. And if he's going to produce every week and get those drops fixed, I'm cool with that. Because I'm a guy, like I said, I'm a Chiefs fan through and through. I don't care about the name on the jersey. When Tyreek left, it is what it is. Moving on, next guy up. If we can figure out who that next guy is going to be or the next guys are going to be, and they can produce and we can continue to win championships, which we did that very next season, I'm fine with that, right? So if we can just figure out who's going to be these guys consistently and finding some consistency period in this wide receiver room is all I really care about, man, and not dropping the ball and turning the ball over. That's all I really care about. So name of the jersey doesn't matter to me. Brent, again on YouTube, what do you think will change when the teams double, triple team Kelce in the playoffs and force us to win with the other wide receivers? What will be the difference?
Not a damn thing. This is what I'm telling you guys. The overcoming of it is Andy Reid. Okay, let me answer it like this. What we were just talking about. The only difference will be whether Andy Reid wants to actually utilize the run game in those situations. We know those double and triple teams are going to come.
Yeah.
There's no longer a mystery or a concern of whether that's going to happen or not. We now know the NFL is paying full attention to what this offense can and cannot do, and they know that if Travis Kelce is sidelined essentially on or off the field, this offense is extremely limited in the pass game.
Yeah.
So is Andy Reid going to start trusting the run game a little bit more, start utilizing and dialing it up a little bit more to make these defenses play more of an honest style of defense, where they have to play a little bit more base, they have to play a little bit more man, and if they want to play zone, cool, that's even better. But the thing is that right now defenses are literally challenging Andy Reid to run the ball, and he's just not doing it. Like I said, 24th in rush attempts this season. It doesn't make sense how he's running his offense right now. It just simply doesn't. Yeah. Someone needs to remind him that he does not have a wide receiver one on this team. He needs to run this offense like he did back in the Eagles' day when they knew that they had to run the ball and check it down to Brian Westbrook a little bit more. He had James Thrash, Todd Pinkston, and guys like that before he got Terrell Owens. When you have Terrell Owens, yeah, you can be a little more aggressive and throw the ball downfield and throw it a lot more. When you don't, you got to play a little more conservative and chuck it down and check it down and run the ball a little bit more. That's what he used to do. Right. He needs to go back to those times. I mean, he's a man of history. He loves history. How about he goes and checks his own history and starts doing some things like that? And I think that's what will be the difference and the change. But right now, as it stands, what we have to hope for is the defense is going to keep teams to 14 points, and that Patrick Mahomes can do just enough to get to 17. That's literally where we're at right now. It's really sad that that's got to be where we're at.
It is indeed where we're at. Next one is from our Adam Cole on Facebook. Most of the time, our screens. This kind of falls right in line with as a continuance for that previous one. Most of the time, our screens work. Why do we not run more screenplays? Is this on an unwritten rule to have only 1 or 2 screens per game?
Well, think about it. This is all. I love these questions because they're all working in succession.
We beg for more screens every week.
Yeah, Andy Reid for the longest time, guys, had to drive a Corsica. Where he's just, hey, it gets you good mileage and you can get where you need to be sometimes. It'll break down on you every once in a while, but it's reliable, it's cool. And then one day, he got a Ferrari. And now it's really fun to, drive it and open it up on the highway and go 100 miles an hour. That's what he has now with Patrick Mahomes. But what he doesn't realize is his GM didn't give him weapons to go and play that fun game. That's not what we have right now. So you still have the Ferrari, but you're in the school zone, and you got to drive 20 miles an hour. You can still get where you need to go, but it's going to be a lot slower, and it's going to be a lot less sexy and a lot less fun. So Andy Reid has to learn how to get over his boredom and run an offense that's a little bit more methodical. He did it for 4 years with Alex Smith. I don't know why he's all of a sudden lost in the mix when it comes to having it with Patrick Mahomes, because Patrick Mahomes can do it, and he gives you that little extra when you need it. I don't understand what the hang-up is here. Run the offense more methodically, because that is literally what Brett Veach told us he was going to do with this offense this offseason.
Well, I think it's more than just Andy Reid. I think some of this falls on the shoulders of Patrick Mahomes as well. I think the Ferrari is taking some of the blame here as well, because we've seen numerous times Patrick go through his progressions and want to make the big play instead of checking it down to the wide open underneath guy or the wide open running back that's just sitting there in the flat. He does that a lot. He tries to chuck it downfield more than he does just taking the safe play, and that's just Patrick Mahomes has kind of always been an impatient quarterback. He likes to make the big. He's self-admitted this numerous times about wanting to make the big play and kind of having to work on his patience. It's the polar opposite of what Alex Smith was, right? So we've come from two different dynamics here. I think it's a combination of lack of design screenplays and bubble screenplays, which are very effective, especially with a guy like McKinnon, who's now banged up, unfortunately. But even with Pacheco, we've seen Pacheco be really good in the passing game, and a guy that we drafted in Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that was his specialty. Right, even being in a downfield receiver at times too. Clyde was incredible at that in college. So the fact we haven't utilized that enough, that does bug me too. I want to see more of that every week. I think they were very effective plays, especially getting 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 yards per play on those. Those are very effective. We have really good blocking tight ends. If you throw Blake Bell or Noah Gray in a 12-man personnel, that's an effective play out there. So I want to see more of that as well. But I do think some of it is Pat just choosing to go elsewhere through his progressions and picking somebody else to take a chance on a bigger play downfield. Brian Parrott, Richie James had somewhat of an impact early. Do y'all see him stepping in front of Watson for the lead spot? If he's got the tools, does he have the will?
The only impact I saw him have early in the season was a negative one when he had a punt hit him right in the freaking face mask, and then he went on the
fumbled,
IR.
too.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot of expectations for Richie James. I think what's happened is the wide receiver room has been so inept all season that people now see a new name emerging, and they think, oh, that's going to help, because we've heard people banging down the door for the Chiefs to go and get former Browns wide receiver. Jesus, I can't believe I'm missing his name. Cousin to OBJ.
A receiver?
Yes.
Jarvis Landry?
Thank you, Jarvis
Yeah.
Landry.
Yeah,
People are
yeah.
not guys. If he was still good, he'd be on an NFL roster somewhere. You know,
I wanted him a few years
teams need
ago.
wide receiver help as much as they could possibly get in the NFL today, especially with the scoring being down. If Jarvis Landry was still good at 31 years old, somebody would get him. The guy is slow. Yeah. He can't break out of his routes very well. He's got good hands. He's a decent player in his time, but guys, his time's gone. So when it comes to Richie James, it's like, I want it to work. Our guy Clay Windler, our producer, has broken down a couple times about catch rate. He has like the number one catch rate last season. Yeah, but he also only had maybe 89 targets. It's a little bit different than getting guys like Richard or Justin Jefferson, who's going to get 180 targets in a season. It's a little bit different. So I'm going to hold my opinion on Richie James. I hope he can bring something to this offense. I just don't know how much he can really be how much of a difference maker he can be. But at this point, the Chiefs got to play whoever they can to just get anything out of him.
I mean, the question is, does he take over? Does he leap in front of Watson? The answer is no.
No.
I think Watson's proven already when he's healthy, he's going to be on the field a lot, and he's going to be a target a lot from Patrick, because Patrick trusts him, right? It is what it is. I mean, Richie James is more of a gadgety guy. He's more in the vein of a McKinnon / Kadarius Toney kind of guy, McCole Hardman kind of guy. He's kind of just another one of those same kind of guys that can be used in special teams if need be, and he's a decent guy with the ball after the catch. Right, and he's a playmaker. I mean, he's been a part of some good offensive units before in the NFL with the Niners and so on. He's been productive when given some work, but he's not a guy that's going to be a massive needle mover or difference maker. I would trust Justin Watson, unfortunately, more to be a consistent playmaker in the passing game, which is not a fun conversation to have right now. Next one was from Bumpa BB. You think Kelce retires after this season?
No, I don't. I don't think that's
clear.
going to happen. I think that knowing Travis Kelce and how much these fans mean to him, how much this team means to him, I think he would want it to be a little more ceremonial. I think he'd want to let the fans know ahead of time, like, hey guys, I've loved Chiefs Kingdom my whole career. He's gonna have like this whole statement broke up about how this will be my final season. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys at Arrowhead. We got we got a championship to go win. Let's go do it. He's going to get this crowd pumped. He's going to use it as a motivating factor for the team and for the fan base. That's how I see it.
Which kind of felt like what he was doing with this interview this last week too. But yeah.
I think if he was using that interview for that, I think he would have came out and said like, I'm really considering retiring this year. I think he would have said those words. He didn't say that. He's saying he's thinking about it, which means it's a lot closer. We're a lot closer to the finish line than maybe we anticipated. And again, not to just keep repeating myself, but I do think that if the Chiefs don't handle the wide receiver room very well this offseason, I do think that announcement could come as early as maybe March or April this upcoming year.
Sure. And the last one here that I at least had said, we got a few more new comments I haven't checked yet, but John Harrison, this one falls right in line with that. As long as Kelce wants to play, he can be productive. Jason Witten couldn't even run anymore, and he still caught 60 balls for 500 to 600 yards and 4 to 5 touchdowns at age 38.
Right.
And Travis Kelce's far more of an athletic specimen than Jason Witten ever was, if we're being honest.
100% agree. If Travis wants to play for another 3 or 4 years, he could. It's just going to come down to, are they going to get it? Are they going to put him in a position to where it isn't going to be on him into his mid to late 30s? Because right now it is, and that's just not acceptable. That's why Tony Gonzalez was able to play so long. That's why Jason Witten was able to play so long, because those Dallas teams had, Dez Bryant, Miles Austin, and guys like that could catch passes and take the focus off of the tight end position. That's why he was able to play as long as he did. That's why Tony Gonzalez did. Right. I never thought we'd be sitting here talking about a Chiefs team that was lacking and going and answering the call at receiver. I never thought we'd be here, but here we are. Hopefully Brett Veach can correct it this offseason, because it isn't just going to impact the wide receiver room. It's going to impact the tight end room as well, and this offense as a whole.
Yeah. Our guy, James T. Kirk, he asked, can I at least ask one question? He said he's late. He said he'll watch the replay. He said, what's up? Yes, James, go ahead and get a question in real quick, man. We got you, buddy. We'll give you a second to think one up. But Starcade Media, in the meantime, has a comment. Lance, are you as frustrated as me that now everyone is up in arms about the wide receivers? We've been saying it for a long time. And I will agree. Starcade, we've been on this for a minute here. We've been saying it for a long time that hey, everyone, these wide receivers aren't good and could be a problem. I said it all last year, too.
The reason I'm upset, to answer your question candidly, yes. The reason I am upset mostly, there's two reasons. One, it's because I was right. I told everybody that I didn't want to be right. I was hoping I was going to be wrong. This isn't some proud moment for me that I get to sit here and Starcade. I'm sure you guys feel the same damn way. Trevor, I know you do. We want to see this team succeed and succeed to the highest of their abilities. And when we see that what we saw coming is exactly what's here, that pisses me off. I didn't want to be right about it. This is the one prediction I didn't want to be right about. And two, it makes me upset is because people think that we come up on these shows and just try to spread misinformation or hate or negativity when all we're just as much fans as you guys are. What we choose to do that's a little bit different than maybe other shows, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but we don't want to just sit here and have rose-colored glasses on and just believe that there's nothing to criticize on this team. Guys, we talk about, I always look at it from a family perspective. Trevor and I are brothers. We're 14 months apart. There's nobody I would trust with my life more than this guy, but there are things that him and I have disagreed on in life. So I can criticize some of the things he might believe. He might do the same thing with me, but at the end of the day, the love that we have that doesn't change. We love the Chiefs. We want this team to win every Super Bowl possible. But when they do certain things we don't agree with, it's not that we think we know the team better or that we know the league better, we know this game better. It just means that we see it from a different perspective, and we're afraid that it's going to come to fruition. And that's exactly what happened. Yep. So, yeah, I am upset. I'm upset that we got accused for being guys that just hate on the team or hate Brett Veach or don't believe in the Chiefs. But when all we really were doing was just forewarning what we're seeing from the perspective that we're standing at from 10,000 feet, because I always say, I think when you're so close in the thick of things, you get lost in the weeds. You don't see the forest through the trees. I think that's where Brett Veach is, and I do think there's a little bit of an ego there. I do believe because of how much he crushed ass and getting this defense to be where they are, and quite frankly, is the reason why Patrick Mahomes is a Chief. He's the one that did ultimately convince Andy Reid and John Dorsey to pull the trigger. I do think that there's a little bit of a belief in himself that, you know what, I can handle it the way I want to, because you've seen other things work out the way they did. But as we just talked to with Jason Dunn, you didn't handle it the same way when it came to quarterback, when it came to cornerback, because at cornerback you had established veterans that these young guys could learn around. When it came to Patrick Mahomes, what does everybody love to tell me, Trevor? It was the right move to keep Alex Smith for that 1 year because Patrick got to learn. Even though I disagree with that, the point is you are right that there was a veteran there established for Patrick to learn under. There isn't that guy here in Kansas City for the wide receivers to learn from. So why did you do it differently? It makes no sense. If this is your principle, if this is your way of doing things with veterans and young players in the succession pattern that you have, why did you do it different? Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. So yes, I'm pissed, man, because I feel like this team should be so much better offensively than they are. It's shameful what they got going on the offense. And quite frankly, Brett Veach, Andy Reid, they all deserve the criticism because they're the ones that told us that Kadarius Toney's supposed to be a star. Well, guess what, guys? Imagine that. Dude's hurt this week. And I'm not crapping on the kid, but the point is he hasn't lived up to the trade yet. And this is a guy that they both told us was supposed to be a star. He has not been anything close to that. Nowhere near a star. I love the kid. He's exciting. He's fun to watch. But damn it, this is what you sold us? Win the Super Bowl, and I hope you do. But, man, you guys cannot double down on this shit again, man, because this wide receiver room is probably the worst in the league, and that's exactly what I feared and I saw coming. And Patrick Mahomes has to put on the cape once again. It may not be with a high ankle sprain this year. It may just be with wide receivers that have no hands.
Unfortunately. Shaggy Shane chimes in. Hey, do we bring Cornell Powell off the practice squad or call Sammy Watkins?
Well, I would say there's a much better chance that Cornell Powell gets called off the practice squad than Sammy Watkins making a return. So I don't think Sammy Watkins in any real world scenario is back on the Chiefs.
Shaggy Shane and his Sammy Watkins love.
And I get it. Sammy played his role in a Super Bowl run, and I will forever love the Lizard Man for that. But He won't be back. Cornell, I'd say there's a slight chance, but there's a reason why this guy's constantly on the practice squad. He's just
he looked
not
good in the preseason. I'll give him that.
Yeah, it's just in real game scenarios, I just don't think that he's a good enough football player to be in there. He's a specimen. If you see the dude, he looks like he was chiseled out of granite.
Yeah.
But when it comes to playing wide receiver, and that's obviously saying something because here I am talking about the wide receiver room and how inept it is. That should tell you about how bad Cornell Powell honestly is at the position if he can't make the team even as bad as they are.
Sure. James T. Kirk got his question in here. We all love Mike Williams, but I disagree with him about Sky Moore. I think Sky is a bust. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. When I was on All Chiefed Up about a week and a half ago, and Mike obviously was on our last episode last week, and I said the same thing, and I'll echo it. And I know that Mike's not willing to give up on Sky just yet, and that's fine, because to the credit of Sky Moore, he is still technically a young player. But guys, we're coming up on 30 games. Eventually, you got to show me what you are. And for me, the saying that Trevor and I very much believe and live by is, when people tell you who you are, you got to believe them. That's something I've had to learn in my personal life, and you better believe I've learned that in the sports world. Is that eventually people these athletes will show you what they are. Do I believe that yes, Sky Moore should be getting more targets here and there? Yes, but guys, there's a reason. Like Patrick Mahomes has shown us in 5-6 seasons what he is. So when I see that guy and then I see Sky Moore struggling, I'm going to tend to give the benefit of the doubt to the guy that's on his way to becoming the greatest quarterback of all time. I'm going to believe that it's probably more about that wide receiver than this dude over here who's setting records and is playing better than anyone in the history of the NFL has ever played that position. I'm going to believe that it's probably that this wide receiver isn't running the right routes. He's dropping passes. He's not earning the respect and the trust of his quarterback and his head coach. Therefore, that's why he's struggling. Has he been put in positions to fail? Yes. I don't know if Andy Reid's really utilized Sky Moore in the perfect way, but here's the thing, guys. You set up the wide receiver room the way you did. You're utilizing Sky Moore the way you are because that's the role he has to play, and he's not succeeding in it. So the excuses eventually start to funnel out. It's eventually, are you catching passes? Are you making impact plays? Or are you not? And if you're not, I have to eventually call you what you are. And being a guy that they traded up for in the second round, I think he's one of the biggest busts in the history of Brett Veach as Chiefs GM. Outside of Breland Speaks, is there a bigger bust that he's drafted? I would have to say he's right up there.
Yeah, no, he statistically is a bust, and any other metric is a bust at this point because he's on the field more than almost any other receiver. He's right up there with MVS as far as snap percentage every single week. And his production with that snap percentage, based on what opportunities he has on the field, is being on the field as much as he is, he's 100%. He's non-existent out there. Yeah. I mean, he was a dud again against Philly. It's just he's on the field nonstop, and that's very frustrating. I mean, there was a lot of hype on him coming into the draft. I mean, it's people that are saying they're confused about why he was drafted and where he was. I mean, he was the best receiver in the draft against man coverage. The best at beating men off press coverage. And he still is very good at that, but listen, I mean, if Rashee Rice is going to come in here and find ways to be productive in this offense on a very limited role, which is growing now, but a very limited role in the first several weeks of this year, finding ways to score, finding ways to break open, finding ways to break tackles, and so on and so forth, there's no excuses anymore, man. Like, this is a year two guy. He's been on the field a ton. He's played well in big moments. He scored in the Super Bowl. I mean, it's not like he hasn't had performances to build on, but yeah, he's 100% a bust at this point. You can't deny it anymore. The guy he's on the field consistently and is doing nothing with it. And it's not that Pat doesn't trust him or Pat doesn't throw him the ball, or Pat doesn't throw him the ball for a reason, right? Rashee Rice is getting more targets and catches than him. That's a bad look. Yep. With him being on the field that much. So as of right now, I hope I'm wrong for the future. I hope he can become something that maybe this home stretch of this season, maybe next year. But as of right now, man, it's not good for Sky Moore. But as of right now, man, that's all the chats we got.
I know you guys were hanging tough, man, because you guys were getting. I saw the chat coming live as soon as we start going live. We usually get the video going about 20-30 minutes before we go live.
Yeah.
And we see that people are already in there waiting. Man, I love that. That's exciting as hell. And I know that you guys were stoked about having JD on today, and we were as well. So we appreciate you guys hanging with us, having the conversation. Keep the conversation rolling. Don't let me and Trevor stop you. Just because we move on to a next segment or even close the show down doesn't mean you guys can't stop.
Let the good times roll.
Yeah, keep rolling. You guys keep talking in here. Go on Facebook on the Spoken. I know a few of you guys are over on that side as well, and on our Twitter page as well at the Spoken Pod. Hit us up, man. Keep talking. Have conversations. Build this community with us because that's what we're here to do.
Yep.
But Trevor, we have one more order of business to get to. What is it called? Hold this L. Each every episode, we finish off every single episode with a series of L's in the world of sports. Whether those L's are friendly or not so friendly L's in the world of sports, we promise you, who's ever holding those L's in the world of sports, deserve those L's in the world of sports. Trevor Twidwell, who's holding the L for you this week?
So I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Last week I talked about, all the teams that have come for the Chiefs' head and has missed, all the teams that talked shit and have done nothing but fall backwards since doing so and stumbled and trip over their own feet since doing so. It seems to be a bad thing, a bad omen, if you will, to do that to the Chiefs. Even if you say you get a victory over the Chiefs, which the whole Burrowhead thing, they had their right to say and talk their shit, but what has happened since then? Not so good. The Bills had their chance to dethrone the Chiefs and failed late in games. What's happened since then? They've stumbled backwards and been tripping over their own feet, and it's been bad, not so good since then. And this is basically more of a future L, if you will. I know you've done your future L's on here, sometimes calling your shot for down the road L. Coach Sirianni for the Philadelphia Eagles. There was a lot of tension heading into this game, a lot of shit being talked, directly after the Super Bowl victory from the Chiefs against Philadelphia last year. But a lot of questions whether things were fair, the field, the slippage, even though we were all playing on the same field together. People wanted to talk about questionable calls. A lot of shit talking going into this game, from other players, but they wanted to downplay it, acting like it was just another game. But as soon as that game was over and we ended up falling to the Philadelphia Eagles, basically to our own doing, but they felt as if they did enough to really show and prove that they won that game convincingly. It definitely seemed that way with Darius Slay out there waving at all the Chiefs fans and doing his antics after the game as if he did something special. And then Coach Sirianni, mind you, didn't do this, at least as far as we know, didn't do this when he was on the field when the fans were down on top of him. Waited till he was in the tunnel. And look, I actually like fiery coaches. I like guys like Sirianni. Sometimes he is kind of a putz, but yeah. This one definitely rubbed me the wrong way. Even though they did win, and you have every right to talk your shit when you win a game. But the way they won was not in a convincing manner to me personally, and definitely not convincing enough for the head coach to shout, "I don't hear shit now, Chiefs fans. See ya."
Trevor won the Super Bowl last year.
Yes, this is what I'm about to get to. I get it. And this is what it's like to be a Chiefs fan right now. This is what it's like to be the Chiefs. Anytime anybody beats you, regular season, preseason, who knows? It doesn't matter. Anytime someone can get a victory over the Chiefs, it is very important to them, and they want to rub it in the face of the Chiefs because we are at the top still. And that just goes to show you every single time someone beats the Chiefs, it is a massive victory lap for them. And that just goes to show you that we are still viewed as the team to beat. And for Coach Sirianni to do that, to stoop that low, to act that childish, in my opinion, it's just another version of poking the bear. And when you do this, here I'm going to be very happy to revisit this once the time comes. And more than ever, I know I predicted Chiefs Cowboys, but more than ever, I want a rematch in the Super Bowl very, very badly because I felt the Chiefs were in a loss, still the better team. We turned the ball over in terrible moments. Our star players that we depend on the most let us down in moments that we don't typically do. And I don't feel like they did enough to go out there and convincingly beat the Chiefs, but they ended up winning. So good for them. Congratulations to Coach Sirianni. But this, unfortunately, is going to be another one of those moments, I think, in retrospect, when we look at when the season is said and done, that the Eagles will be eating the words again. And just like the Bengals have, just like the Bills have, just like all these other fan bases and other teams that have talked shit against the Chiefs, you better finish the job then. If you're going to do these things, I mean, there's a track record here that's been building up here for the last several seasons. So for that, Coach Sirianni, do me a solid favor and
hold this L. My L is going to go to Father Time because LeBron James keeps kicking your ass. I don't know if you guys saw this was the first year of the in-season tournament that they had for the NBA. It's 4 games. The Lakers went 4-0, by the way, even though Anthony Davis was not anywhere close to what Anthony Davis normally is. I think there was one game where he had I think it was 4 points, 5 points, and the Lakers won that game. The biggest reason why that is because soon-to-be 39-year-old LeBron James in year 21 is averaging 26, 8 and 6 on 58% shooting from the field, almost 42% from 3.
Stupid, man.
Guys, there's 16 games into the season, and he's putting up these numbers. He's also playing almost 35, 36 minutes a game. They're also showing highlights of this man making run from behind blocks like he did back in year 8, year 9, year 10, year 14, year 15, and he's in year 21. And it's getting so bad now that people are now making these conspiracy theories on Twitter that he's taking PEDs. This is how great this man is. There's been zero proof or evidence of him taking anything performance enhancing. All he does
saying that his whole career
is religiously taking care of his body and being all about ball and staying out of trouble. And here is the outcome of that. The fruition of that is him playing to this level this late. Guys, I don't know when LeBron's going to retire. I know that it's going to happen one day, but at this point, I felt, even as the biggest LeBron guy there was, that, year 18, year 19, he was going to finally, sputter out. And then, okay, he might get to year 20, and then it'll be over. Guys, he's in year 21, and I don't know if he's going to be done in the next 4 years. And I don't say that lightly.
He's came out and said he wants to change the narrative.
He might, guys, and it was, for the record, you guys know I'm not the biggest Tom Brady guy, but it was insanely impressive for Tom Brady to play at the NFL at a high level, by the way, at 45 years old. Guys, what Tom Brady did is nothing compared to what LeBron's doing. No offense. He played quarterback. He played one side of the ball. LeBron is out there running back and forth on a court, guarding players, running an offense, scoring, dribbling, rebounding, assisting, all these other things. Tom Brady had to focus on getting the ball to his playmakers, which is difficult. Not easy. It's a very cerebral position. But he doesn't have to play defense. LeBron does. It's a much different level athletically. NBA players are the greatest athletes on this planet. It's not even close.
The physical demands of an NBA player is far more than an NFL quarterback.
A 6'5" guy in the NFL is tall as shit. A 6'5" guy in the NBA is a point guard. Think about that. That's what we're trying to get you guys to understand. There's the athletic ability and demand on these players in the NBA is a much different thing. It's another level.
Steph Curry. That's
so
6'4", 6'5".
yes.
Yeah.
So I want to say right now that I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know when LeBron's going to retire. It's going to happen, but I'm starting to buy into this idea, Trevor, that it might not be anytime soon. He might go into year 24, 25.
Bro, I might be retired from my normal day-to-day job before LeBron retires from the NBA.
I think I just turned 14 years old when LeBron started his career.
Yeah.
I'm in my mid-30s.
Yeah,
Think about that.
I was in 8th grade, bro.
That's insane to think about. He was almost playing back in black and white television. That's how long ago this was.
Yeah.
Tablets didn't exist. So many things didn't exist. Blockbuster was a thing.
I just feel bad for the people that aren't appreciating it in the real time. You're going to really be upset with yourself.
Eventually Father Time's going to just tap because he's just whooping its ass right now. So in the meantime, I'm loving it. I'm enjoying every second of it because I don't know how much longer it's going to last, but I don't feel like we're at the end. I really don't feel like we're at the end. I think that right now, LeBron is one of the 3 best players in the NBA. I know that sounds crazy to say, but right now, if you really look at it, I know stats, other guys might have better numbers, but just the effectiveness that he has when he's on and off the court, how much different his team is, and his numbers to account, there's not 3 players in the league right now more valuable than LeBron James. I don't see it. So for that, Father Time, you are undefeated, but you might take your first L. Do me a solid and hold this L. We appreciate you.
I don't know if you saw Stephen A. Stephen A. was even coming about talking about recently a clip. He was doing the whole nail biting thing, he was talking about y'all know my love for Jordan. MJ is my GOAT, but I'm not gonna lie to y'all. It's LeBron, what he's doing right now, year 21 is he started biting his nails.
When you got Stephen A. starting to second guess his GOAT because he's one of those ignorant dudes that just will not move off Michael.
Yeah,
I get it. Whatever. You guys made your career off talking about him. I get it. But Wilbon's the same damn way. Eventually, even Skip Bayless is changing his tune. Think about that. Yeah, that should tell you everything.
It's
raisin
It's exhausting
himself.
to try to find ways to try to tear this man down. You're going to run out of
excuses. It's getting exhausting when he's giving you 2+ decades of nothing but everything against what you've been saying. So this has been an incredible show. dare I say, this has been the LeBron James of the Spoken Podcast episodes. Been just unbelievably long. It's a long episode. It's gone on forever. So that definitely justifies that comparison. But awesome episode. You guys were great today. You guys brought it in the chat. Our guy, we cannot thank enough, Jason Dunn from the Chief Concerns Podcast. Just keep kicking ass, brother. We love you to death. And that is who you guys saw on video today. That is who he is. I don't like to talk about people's private life. I don't even like to talk about my own private life on this show. I like to keep things separate. But I will tell you guys just a little insight. I've hung out with Jason Dunn in person. That is exactly who he is. Like it's not a show. He's not one of those dudes that just tries to, get people to buy into the brand. He's not a brand. He's not bought and paid for. This is a genuine human being, and I'm very lucky to call that dude a brother, a friend, because he's one of the best people I've ever met. And I hope that you guys go and support them because they have a great show. Him, Marcus, and 𝚂𝙺 have a great show over there at Chief Concerns, and we're really lucky to have them in this fan base. Jason Dunn could have played for any other team. Marcus Dash could have been a fan of any other team. We'd have never known these guys. We'd have never talked about these guys. We'd have never met with them. Nothing. We were lucky enough to have them here, and I consider us very fortunate to have them on this show, and we're very fortunate to have all you guys. And I say at the top, I'll say it at the bottom. If you've not already done it, go to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe, hit like, and notification buttons as well. But most importantly, get in the chat, get in the comments, let us know what you guys want to talk about because you guys are important to us. We value your opinions and your takes and your questions as we do every single week. So for Trevor Twidwell, for the great Clay Windler that puts all this together on the back end of things, I am Lance Twidwell of the Spoken Podcast. Episode 244 is done, finished, and finito. And until we're back here in 1 week's time, hopefully talking about a Chiefs victory over the Raiders in episode 245, we out of this bitch.
Later.